takes a minute to load up. Welcome in, Cuse Nation, to yet another edition of Orange Heat. My name's Giovanni Heater alongside Kyle Marchak, and today we bring you the Syracuse Orange and the Buffalo Bulls, a non-conference college basketball matchup inside the Carrier Dome, brand new, renovated. Kyle, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me on. I'm really looking forward to this matchup tonight, Gio. Usually when we get non-conference games, you're going to see really, a spread out or maybe even a lack of talent in the teams that they face. Of course, there's all sorts of Division I teams to see. And really in this MAC conference, there's a lot of teams that are slept on. And Buffalo is certainly one of those squads with Janathan Williams, a face you'll see a lot of tonight, really.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big matchup inside the Dome because the last time around, Syracuse fell to Buffalo at home in 2018. So typically a situation where the little brother in the state of New York is kind of looking to beat up on the big brother, which is Syracuse. You see it all the time. The Orange host Colgate, they host Cornell, they host St. Bonaventure, they host Buffalo. All of these schools within the state of New York, they play a couple in the non-conference play against these teams, and that little brother team always wants to come beat up on the Orange. But some of these guys, including the coaching staff, most importantly, remember losing to the Bulls, who went to the NCAA tournament that year in 2018 after winning the MAC conference. This Orange team's going to be coming out hungry.
Yeah, absolutely, Gio. I mean, This Orange team has had its fair amount of struggles, really just recent history. Like you said, against Buffalo, there's all sorts of games that, you kind of scratch your head at why they're dropping those teams. But at the end of the day, the MAC conference has to be more respected. It's certainly one of the better conferences out of the conferences that aren't in the Power Five, really. I mean, there's so many teams to worry about there.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more, Kyle. And, Buffalo's a team that's picked to finish towards the top of the MAC conference. One of the best teams in the MAC conference, both football and basketball. You just saw them play in the MAC conference championship last night, falling to Ball State. So the basketball team hungry. The fans need something to boost them back up again after falling in the MAC conference championship on the gridiron. So a big matchup inside the Dome, and it means a lot more than some of the other non-conference matchups so far this season, besides maybe Rutgers. And every game means a lot. That was proven last time around for Syracuse, just barely getting past Northeastern. What a struggle of a game that was. Nonetheless, it was a win in the win column. The Orange stand at 5-1. Every game is important in this season of 2020. You never know when it's going to be your last, Kyle. So tonight is a big matchup inside the Dome. What are your thoughts on what Syracuse needs to do to improve after a close margin against Northeastern just a few days ago?
Yeah, absolutely, Gio. I mean, there's a lot of keys to the game, really. If we kind of take away from recent history how Syracuse has performed this season, I think a control of the pace of the game is going to be key to their success tonight. Against Northeastern, they had their struggles controlling the pace of the game. You saw them at times actually do a full press, and vice versa for Northeastern. And really, Joe Girard, who's supposed to be the man of this offense, as well as Buddy Boeheim, kind of rushed up the court. And you could tell that there was a sense of urgency early on with them, as I believe they left the first half with only up by 1 point. So obviously a sense of urgency should be evident tonight here against Buffalo. Buddy Boeheim and Alan Griffin before that game averaged 37 points together. That game dropped 2. So you need to see their performance tonight. And of course, utilizing the paint. Quincy Guerrier, our leader in points, is going to be a big guy to use in the inside. He's a little bit stronger than who our person is at center, Merrick Dolezaj. So they kind of switch in between if we're looking offensively, at least. Of course, Merrick Dolezaj stays in the paint on the defensive side of the court. And with Buffalo, Leadership on the court is going to be key for their success tonight. Their head coach out because of a COVID quarantine, Jim Weitzel. He's certainly had his impact on Buffalo, and it's a shame to see him not on the court with them tonight. Likely to see Jamie Corrals replacing him tonight. And of course, ball movement to the wings laterally will spread out that 2-3 zone. And I think that will also be key to their further success tonight, splitting up that 2-3 zone against Syracuse.
There's Kyle Marchak with the best analytics that you can find in Central New York. So thank you for being here tonight, buddy. We got a good one inside the dome. It's Syracuse and Buffalo. It's college basketball, and it's here on Orange Heat. Welcome inside the Carrier Dome on a beautiful Saturday evening for college basketball. The Syracuse Orange play host to the in-state rivaled Buffalo Bulls. It's a snowy one here in Syracuse, New York, just the weekend before Christmas. Giovanni Heater alongside Kyle Marchak, your broadcast team for tonight. And Kyle, we got a good one inside the Dome. As we said, Syracuse fell just 2 years ago in 2018 in a matchup at home against this very Buffalo Bulls squad. Now, some things have changed. The Bulls graduate some of their best players that took them to the NCAA tournament, but they also return some talent. They're led by Jonathan Williams, their leading scorer. Tell me about tonight's game and tell me about this Buffalo squad.
Well, you mentioned the man to look out for, Jonathan Williams, 6'5" forward, and he's really the star of the team, 20 points per game, and he also leads in rebounds at 8.6. So certainly a guy similar to Quincy Guerrier of Syracuse who can end up in double figures, if not triple figures, and I'm not lying about that. I mean, he's long at his position, he's a great finisher, and he's not afraid to shoot that three ball, so certainly a guy to look out for tonight.
Absolutely. And then on the other side for Syracuse, you could call it that the struggle was real just a few days ago on Wednesday as the Orange played host to the Northeastern Huskies. A very slight margin of victory for Syracuse. Nonetheless, they were able to get the job done in that go around, advancing to 5-1 on the season. But that's twice now this year that you could use the excuse the Orange didn't have the time to prepare, didn't have the time to practice against Bryant in the opener after 14 days of off due to COVID-19 regulations, and then going up against Northeastern on very short notice, scheduling that game just 2 days before tip-off. So tell me a little bit about what this Syracuse team needs to do and who's going to lead the way in recovering from some of these mishaps.
Well, you'd like to think that Buddy Boeheim and Joe Girard would be the man to look out for, manning this offense tonight. But really, Quincy Guerrier has been excellent on defense, and he's obviously the most well-rounded player, not just in the Syracuse offense, but in the ACC. If we look at some numbers here, 76% field goal percentage, which is first in the ACC, a statistic that you wouldn't expect to see this early on. And of course, he's second in rebounds. He's a great rebounder. So really, he's supposed to be the guy tonight. But you'd like to think that it would be our one or two. So obviously an odd, characteristic and statistic to look at for Syracuse. Hopefully Joe Girard and Buddy Boeheim will up their performance tonight and see if everyone can have a well-rounded game.
Absolutely. We're just moments away from tip-off inside the Carrier Dome, located on the campus of Syracuse University here in Syracuse, New York, as both teams begin to take the court here. And Syracuse still without Barama Sidibe, starting center going into the year, tears his meniscus just 4 minutes into action in the season opener against the Bryant Bulldogs. He will return in the coming weeks, likely. He was shooting around with the team both today and in the last matchup against Northeastern, getting some shots up in warm-up, not suiting up, looking for him to come back around the landscape of the North Carolina game in the coming weeks. But he will be out for about a timetable of a total of 4 weeks. The Orange finally getting Buddy Boeheim back recently as of late, and we're underway inside the Dome. Jonathan Williams securing the opening tip for the Bulls. And just like that, the Buffalo Bulls moving quickly. Jonathan Williams, a slide to the inside, and an easy 2. The Bulls up 2-0, just like that, 15 seconds into this matchup. Now on the other side, the Orange wearing the script jerseys, which historically they have not performed well in, but a fan favorite for Syracuse fans. Guerrier, an easy drive to the inside, dunks it home off the feed from Buddy Boeheim, and explosive plays up and down the court so far to start this ball game. The starting 5 for Buffalo: Javen Graves, Ronaldo Segu, Jonathan Williams, Trayvon Fagan, and David Skogman. And on the other side for Syracuse, it's Buddy Boeheim, Joe Girard, Quincy Guerrier, Marek Dolezaj, and Alan Griffin. Couple of three-pointers here for the Bulls off the mark, but offensive rebounds have proven to be plenty. Jonathan Williams lets a 3 fly from the right wing. That one hits off the back rim and out. Quincy Guerrier pulls down the rebound, and he's fouled on the floor. So Syracuse will take it, going the other way, and that's our first stoppage of play so far in the night. 19:01 left on the clock. Kyle, what are you seeing these both teams moving quickly right now?
Yeah, right off the bat, you see both the guys to look out for here with Jonathan and Quincy for Syracuse. So Quincy's looking sharp tonight. Looking forward to how that goes.
Alan Griffin, a dunk on the inside. That's back-to-back slams inside the paint for Syracuse, making it look easy. Wide open on the interior. Alan Griffin gets his first score in 2 games. Had 0 points in the go-around with Northeastern on Wednesday. Great to see him back in the score column. Going into that game, he was the leading scorer for Syracuse, and that was not the case against Northeastern. Just had an off night, as many do. Three-pointer here is off the back rim and out for the Bulls. Quincy Guerrier pulls down the rebound, Kyle. He's had plenty of those this year. 16 and a double-double the other day against Northeastern.
Yeah, I mean, he's ridiculous. Like I said, second in rebounds in the ACC.
Buddy Boeheim able to get a putback in, put up his own shot, missed it, pulled down the board, and put it in. Syracuse leads at 6-2, 18 minutes exactly and counting left on the clock here. The Bulls trying to come up with a response. Jonathan Williams on the inside. That bucket is good. So it's 6-4, the easy lay-in for Jonathan Williams. He's the leading scorer on this squad, and he has proven that he could make some noise in college basketball this year. A 6'5", 206-pound Florida forward, a junior out of Rochester, New York, playing for the Buffalo Bulls. Buddy Boeheim, a pull-up from the ACC logo, fading away, stepping back, and count it. 8-4 is your score. 17:27 left to go here. The first half inside the Carrier Dome. Both teams just can't seem to miss, and that was the opposite of the problem against Northeastern for the Orange, when they couldn't seem to buy a bucket, and the rim just was all that much smaller. Not the case here tonight. Syracuse jumping out to an early lead. Feed to the inside and a bucket here. What a play that time for the Bulls. Javen Graves, the senior out of Melbourne, Ohio. 6'3", 200-pound guard running the point for this squad. Put up his shot, grabbed his own miss, and put the lay in. So 8-6 is your score. 16:50 left to play here. Buddy Boeheim tried to drive it, put up a shot, and he was fouled on the floor. He'll get 2 shots from the charity stripe, Kyle, and it's been explosive so far early, the opposite of the problem we had just a few days ago. So it's certainly good to see the Orange getting some points up, and the Bulls as well.
Yeah, right off the bat, I see a new look for Syracuse, not with the roster, but how they're utilizing their men on the court. With Buddy Boeheim coming up to the front court, and then you saw a good use of that pivot foot earlier, and really he's gotten a lot more touches right off the bat here. Of course, it's been a couple games since he's first gotten back, but I'm looking forward to seeing how him and Jonathan Williams will kind of go back and forth.
Absolutely. Buddy Boeheim goes 2 for 2 from the charity stripe. So the Orange are out to a 10-6 lead over Buffalo. 16:36 left to go. Javen Graves, 3-pointer from the left wing, and score it. The Bulls respond 10-9, 16 and a half minutes to go. Joe Girard running the point, and right up in his face at that end of the court is Ronaldo Segu, a 6-foot guard, a junior out of Orlando, Florida. So Segu and Graves are running the top at the guard position for this team, and Jonathan Williams is their main man to find. Pump fake, Marek Dolezaj, pass to the inside. Quincy Guerrier, a contested layup. That's been his bread and butter so far this year. Marek Dolezaj adding to his assist total, leads the ACC. 3-pointer from the corner. Jonathan Williams, this guy is money. He can't miss so far tonight. He was the leading scorer coming in, and he'll probably be the leading scorer coming out. Jumper on the other side. Buddy Boeheim off the front rim and out. Rebound, Graves moving the other way quickly. Corner, Jonathan Williams. Left side, three-pointer. Back-to-back triples for Jonathan Williams and this Buffalo squad, who jump out to a three-point advantage, 15-12. Joe Girard, an early shot, three-pointer, just 2 seconds into the shot clock, couldn't hit. Nearly missed it all. And that's the problem with Joe Girard, Kyle. We've talked about it so many times. We're not proud of his shot selection.
Yeah, usually you see him drive more. At least that's what we expected in that last game. But, it seems he's falling back in his old ways, pulling up really early in the shot clock. Poor shot selection there by Joe Girard.
Three-pointer off the mark for Buffalo. Buddy Boeheim, a drive to the inside, spinning around, count the bucket, and he'll take a trip to the free throw line as well. What a play that was out of Buddy Boeheim. The and one, and a timeout's called on the court by the Buffalo Bulls. So when we come back, it'll be Buddy Boeheim for a free throw, trying to make it a three-point play. 15-14 is your score inside the Carrier Dome. The Buffalo Bulls lead it. Both teams playing explosive offensively. Really, both teams can't miss right now.
Yeah, both teams have looked like a blur. And usually, Gio, when we see Syracuse kind of have a really fast game, looks more like a tennis match where it's just back and forth through the court. You'd like to think that Syracuse is not having the better half of it. Usually that's when teams start to separate against Syracuse, who favors to slow the game down. But right now, they're just really hitting their shots. Of course, a couple shots that you like to scratch your head at. Why are they pulling up from that deep and that early in the shot clock? We saw a couple mid-ranges that were just forced up. So small things for Syracuse to fix right now. Of course, shot selection always seems to be a question mark for Syracuse with guys like Joe Girard, who would really, be better off driving the ball, even if they do lack that size at the one position.
Now, Kyle, you talked about it, the shot selection, right? And the entire point of the 2-3 zone, as everybody knows, is to push teams out. Don't allow them that interior penetration. Force them to take the toughest shot to make in college basketball, which is the three-point shot. Syracuse is doing that. They're forcing them to shoot, and they're closing out on some of these shots as well. But guys like Jonathan Williams and Graves are just simply making them, and there's not much you can do about that. Can you just talk about how explosive Buffalo's been so far in the early going?
Yeah, it's hard to ignore. Jonathan Williams, I thought, maybe this kid's long and athletic and he's a great slasher. I was looking at his highlights beforehand, and that seemed to be the word to describe him. But off the bat, I expected Buffalo to go to the wings to stretch that backcourt of the 2-3 zone, which is where you usually find more success, creating space in the paint and, at the wings, kind of draw both the attentions of, both threats at least. And then all of a sudden, Jonathan Williams has done both. He's gotten to the inside. He's shot from the wing. And like you said, they've done a good job actually challenging that three-point shot. Marek Dolezaj is not an easy guy to shoot over at 6'8" and very long at the 4/5 position. And he hit one right in his face. So, there's really not much you can do about that except be more wary of it and know, the look of them trying to stretch that backcourt of the 2-3 zone.
Jonathan Williams leads the Bulls in points so far this season, averaging exactly 20 points a game. He also leads the team in rebounds with 8.6 rebounds a game. Javon Graves leads the assists with 3.6, and he also leads steals with 2 steals a game. On the other side for Syracuse, it was the leading scorer, Alan Griffin, until he went 0 in the last go-around against Northeastern, like we mentioned. He, before that game, led the team with 18.5 points. Now it's Quincy Guerrier leading the way with 16.5 points. Guerrier leads the team in rebounds, 9.8. Dolezaj in assists, as well as leading the Atlantic Coast Conference with 4.2. And steals is Kadary Richmond, the freshman, with 2.8. So Quincy Guerrier, I think if you have to pick a guy on this Syracuse team that has been the most dependable, has to be the man. A double-double machine is proving to be.
Yeah, seriously. Just when you see that his defensive ability is solid and that he can score the ball from the 3/4 position, all of a sudden his rebounding is something you have to worry about as well on both ends of the court.
Absolutely. Jonathan Williams off the court now for the Bulls. Buddy Boeheim's free throw is up and good. So with 15 minutes exactly to play here, it's 15 all inside the dome. Look at that. Nearly a steal on the inside for Buddy Boeheim, and he's clapping his hands. He does get the reach-in foul. He knows that he should have kind of had that one back, just kind of refrained from reaching and extending that arm. So Boeheim picks up his first foul, and the Bulls continue the possession. So a couple of lineup changes here for the Bulls. Jonathan Williams out of the game, getting his first rest. And that's a guy that could play all 40 minutes. Not the case so far tonight. He does get the highest amount of minutes on this team. Not a surprise. Quick kick to the inside and a tough bucket that time. A great play for the Bulls on the interior. And it's Josh Mballa, the junior, played at Texas Tech before transferring to play at Buffalo, a 6'7", 220-pound forward. Alan Griffin, a deep three. That's off the front rim. Put it up just short. And it's tipped away out of bounds by Quincy Guerrier, who tried to get the rebound. It'll be inbounded here by Mballa. The Bulls will take it back. So Alan Griffin, another one early in the shot clock. You understand he's trying to get his confidence back. Only took 4 shots. Boeheim said in the press conference he was completely out of rhythm the majority of this game. Now the Bulls have it offensively, moving the ball well. Graves thought about a 3, but instead kicks it out to the top. Manning the point now is David Nickelberry in for the Bulls, and he takes a deep 2. That one's off the mark. Alan Griffin the rebound, moving quickly the pace. Kick to Marek Dolezaj driving to the inside, and Dolly has no problem laying that one, kissing it off the glass. 17 all inside the dome. We have a good one. 13:35 left on the clock. The Bulls take the possession back. Kick to the inside. Maberry puts one up, and that one's good. Count it. 19-17 is the lead now for Buffalo, and both teams scoring on both ends of the court. 13-16 to play. 25 seconds left in the shot clock. Girard at the top. Gives it off to Buddy at the top of the key. Buddy Boeheim, a crossover, drives to the inside, can't get that one to go, and the Bulls moving quickly. Girard wanted it a steal, but instead it's a bucket for the Bulls, jumping out to a 4-point advantage. Ronaldo Segu, count it for him. It's 21-17, 12:53 left to go here in the first half. Joe Girard at the top of the key, cutting Boeheim. Boeheim out to Marek Dolezaj. He pump fakes a 3. Alan Griffin now on the left wing. Griffin, step back, pulls up for 3. That one hits off the rim. Wasn't all that close. And a rebound going the other way for Segu. And Segu running the point at the top of the key. Pass to the right side. Graves, now a kick to the inside. Mballa puts up a shot. That one airballs, and Guerrier pulls down the rebound. Girard top of the key. Off to Guerrier on the right wing. Guerrier just taking his time, thinking what to do with it. Now a drive for Guerrier. One-on-one isolation, not able to get the bucket, but he will take a trip to the charity stripe. His first one of the night. He's a little bit inconsistent, Kyle, at the free throw line, but again, honestly, playing the best basketball on this Syracuse squad. What are you seeing out of both teams?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Quincy Guerrier, a little inconsistent. Definitely free throw is something he needs to work on. But nonetheless, he's looked sharp thus far, drawing the foul right there. And really the big thing with Buffalo and their continued success is as long as they stretch the court horizontally and kind of split up that backcourt of the 2-3 zone, I think they'll be just fine. And honestly, you've seen thus far that as long as they do that, they can get to the rim, and all of them are great finishers. I'm very surprised by the well-roundedness of this offense from Buffalo right now. Yeah,
every time Guerrier seems to go to the line, he kind of is good for a 1-and-1, right? It's pretty rare he makes 2, but he also doesn't miss both of them. 1-and-1 is pretty much how he usually goes about it, and that's exactly what he did there. So 21-18 is your score after Guerrier goes 1 for 1 from the line after shooting 2. 12:03 left to play, and it was a kick to the inside. Mballa put one up, and it was blocked away by Dolezaj, but they do call a foul. So Mballa will take a trip to the charity stripe. It'll be his first of the night. And the first one is up and good. 22-18. It's a lead for Buffalo. 12:03 left to play with the clock stopped. Girard is going to come and take a seat next to Mr. Boeheim on the bench. And coming in his place is the freshman Kadari Richmond. A lot of Syracuse fans calling for him to be the starting one guard. Mbala's second free throw off the front rim and out. Alan Griffin, the easy rebound. Kadari Richmond running the point. He penetrates. Now he kicks it out to Griffin on the left wing. Griffin, some fancy dribbling, elects to give it back to Richmond at the top of the key. Now Boeheim, a drive, feed to the inside, lobbed it up for Dolezaj. Dolezaj got closed in on quickly, kicks it out to Guerrier, a three-pointer off the mark, rattled around for a second. Mballa the rebound, kick to the right side. Graves thought about a 3. Now a 2-pointer is up, but it doesn't matter. It looked like there was traveling on the floor, and the guilty man that time was number 24 on the court, Trevon Fagan. Fagan, a 6'8" forward, 208-pounder, redshirt junior. and he played previously at Florida Southeastern State. So a lot of transfers on this Buffalo squad. Kyle, you're keen about knowledge in this. You mention it nearly every game, that a lot of teams like this, these lower echelon teams in Division I, like a Buffalo, like a Northeastern, like these teams that Syracuse has really played throughout this season in the non-conference so far, a lot of the times that's what they are, teams full of transfers, right? It's hard to keep longevity. They have guys come in and transfer out to go to bigger programs, and they pick up guys maybe from bigger programs that couldn't make it. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at other sports and really just all college sports in general, not to compare lower echelon Division I teams to JUCO teams, but JUCO sports, you see so many transfers because that's all athletes want to do is get to the higher rank. Well, it's a similar type of thing with smaller Division I schools. Despite them also being in the running for NCAA tournament spots like Buffalo, you're still going to see guys who want more, which is a good thing to see in athletes. So many transfers coming in and out. I mean, we opened up our season against a college, Bryant, and I think almost everyone except for 2 players were non-returning players. And that's partially because 90% of the players on the roster were transfers. And you see a couple who might have been, first year. I'm pretty sure if we look back at that, there might have been no freshmen on the team for all I know. So it's kind of interesting to see how that characteristic and dynamic goes in smaller Division I schools.
Now, Buffalo out to an early lead here over Syracuse so far. What do you think the Orange have to do to scrape their way back into it? I think they're doing the right things. And then what does Buffalo have to do to kind of sustain this lead? Because they're out to a great start here in Central New York.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, Gio. I mean, with Syracuse, you kind of scratch your head because it seems like they have everything together. And even then, Buffalo's still outperforming them. It's evident that Buffalo is more athletic than them. So it's up to them to kind of control the pace of the game, which is one of my keys to the game for Syracuse is if they control the pace of the game to their favor, they'll be able to slow things down and mentally they'll have the advantage over Buffalo, who already should be at a disadvantage in the biggest venue in college sports or in college basketball, excuse me. But of course, without that crowd, it's completely different. The environment's off. But that just is probably only a small portion of what Syracuse has got to think about right now. Really, they just have to slow down the game. And if Buddy and Griffin find their way back into the scoring column, I think they'll have a more consistent, well-rounded game like they did against Boston College the other day. And when it comes to, Buffalo, I think if Jonathan Williams, takes his time on the court, slows things down as well, and continues to be explosive when he has the ball, I think he seems, more of a catch and shoot or catch and move type of guy. He really utilizes that triple threat position well at the top of the key, which is odd because he's a forward. He should be coming in and out of the paint, which he does well as well. And that's the thing. He's such a well-rounded threat. So many things to look at here for this 2-3 zone of Syracuse.
Yeah, Jonathan Williams, a guy who, if you're a Buffalo fan, you're excited about, but you have to be even more excited that this lead sustained, and this team played just as good when he took his 5 minutes on the bench just moments ago. Probably expect him to come back on the court following this timeout. In my opinion, I'm sure you get your star player back on the floor, but this Buffalo team can play deep, right? I mean, David Skogum playing some core minutes right now at the center position. He's been the only guy that's been constant. He's been the only guy that was there in the opening tip and still hasn't come out. And matter of fact, Jonathan Williams still not back in the game. They still have Mabala in there. Wondering if they just feel that size advantage down low with Syracuse not having a true center, because Mabala's been dominant against Dolezaj so far, but Mabala turns it over right there. A pass intended to the inside for Skogum and just some miscommunication. Away it goes, and Syracuse gets the ball back, trailing by 4, 11-20 and counting left to play. Kadary Richmond still running the point, the same lineup as before for the Orange. Buddy Boeheim, top of the key. Screen Dolezaj. Boeheim thought about a deep 2, gave it off to Dolezaj, and Dolezaj able to draw a foul there. A little bit of acting. He knew that he had Skogum out of position. Just kind of makes a little bit of contact with the body, puts up a nonchalant shot, and he'll have 2 from the charity stripe. That's what Boeheim loves his team to do. Just get those easy ones, get those freebies when he got Skogum out of position.
Yeah, absolutely. And he kind of drew that. Skogum getting a little handsy right there. Good play by Marek Dolezaj, who really is more of a 3-4, but has to play in this 5 position for Syracuse due to unfortunate circumstances with Barama Sidibe. And we will speak about that for sure later during timeouts. Barama Sidibe, a great athlete, started his career as a walk-on. And, without him, there's certainly a mental disadvantage for Syracuse and the guy at center, Marek Dolezaj.
Dolezaj goes 1 for 1 from the charity stripe, and that's been something that Syracuse has struggled with a little bit, but he's also playing at the 5, and what center is that good at free throw shooting in college basketball. They're few and far between, right? Shaquille O'Neal made a career out of missing free throws. So steal here on the inside. Buddy Boeheim able to take it away. Syracuse trails by 3, 22-19 is the score, 10:46 left to go. Boeheim top of the key off a feed from Guerrier, gives it right back to him. The back-to-back, and Guerrier couldn't get the bucket to go, but he will have 2 free throws here. He's fouled on the floor by Mabala, and it's a 3-point lead for Buffalo. 10:40 to go where the clock stops. Woody Newton now in for Syracuse. He replaces Alan Griffin. Syracuse fans love him, right? They love Woody Newton, and they love Kadary Richmond, the tandem duo at the freshman graduating class. Guerrier makes his first free throw. What are you seeing out of Woody Newton on this team? What do you think goes into Boeheim's decision to take Alan Griffin out and put in the young buck?
Yeah, well, I mean, Boeheim likes to stretch the court with a deeper roster. Now that we have more faces to look at here, it's a great opportunity to get everyone on the court and, really rest your top guys like Joe Girard, who has yet to remake an appearance, it seems. So, he's similar to Kadary Richmond in playing style as well, just a long guard, really athletic and good for this 2-3 zone.
Guerrier goes 2 for 2 from the line that time, so proving us wrong from our previous comment of he's pretty known for 1-1. 22-21 is your score inside the dome. And with 10:22 left to go, Buffalo nearly turns it over, but it goes off the foot of Quincy Guerrier. Guerrier's got 3 double-doubles so far this season. He's tied for first place in the Atlantic Coast Conference in doing so. And the ACC really wide open this year. You'd have to like Syracuse's chances, which we'll really get into during halftime. Mubala on the inside, wanted a foul. Instead, the ref gives him a travel. Mubala with his hands up in the air, wondering why the call. There was a little bit of contact with Dolezaj, but he walked just one too many steps with it. So Syracuse to inbound. Kadary Richmond running the point for the Orange. 22-21 is the score. 10-11 to go. Buffalo leads it by 1 inside the dome. Woody Newton gives it off to Kadary Richmond. Freshman to freshman. Richmond, a floater from the elbow. That one's no good, and a quick rebound going the other way for Buffalo. Foul on the floor, and it's an offensive foul. The referee gives the Orange the benefit of the doubt. How about Kadary Richmond getting his feet in the proper position? This time, the offensive foul for the Bulls is going to go against Trayvon Fagan, the redshirt junior from Florida Southwestern State University. Excuse me, rather, it's Keyshawn Bruton, my mistake. It's a 6'2 guard, 178-pounder, a senior, who used to play at Coastal Carolina before coming to play for the Bulls. Boeheim a drive to the inside. He couldn't get it to go. A foul on the interior, and it looks like it does go against the Bulls, Kyle. What did you see on that play where Boeheim just kind of drives, and on the rebound they call some kind of off-the-ball foul?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the small things that honestly both teams can afford to do here. When both teams are very competitive and not afraid to go up and down the court quickly with a high pace of offense, the off-the-ball fouls are really just small things like charges that Woody Newton just drew are some things that you can't afford to have in this game. Marek Dolezaj is a guy that gets in foul trouble a lot, but here he's on the foul line in the other end of the situation, which is good to see here, despite his lack of free throw excellence. So, of course, off-the-ball fouls are really just foul trouble in general, something that especially Syracuse does not want to fall into here.
Yeah, the 1-1 for Marek Dolezaj. Syracuse is in the single bonus, and he had the 1-1 opportunity to tie it and goes off the back rim. Closing out for a block is Kadary Richmond. It's rebounded offensively, a drive to the inside, and it ends up being a Buffalo bucket by David Nickelberry. He had to fight for that one. The Bulls out to a 3-point advantage once again, 24-21 with 9:27 left to go. They counted the foul as well, so what was a great defensive play for Syracuse and Kadary Richmond turned into be a detrimental 3-point opportunity right now for the Bulls. David Nickelberry, you got to credit the hustle to grab the offensive board and put it in. And for that, Woody Newton's going to come out of the game, Kyle. But how about Nickelberry on that play?
Yeah, Nickelberry is 6'7" guard. That's fun to watch, huh? And he's really athletic, too, for a 200-pounder. I'm looking forward to seeing how maybe his rebounding will come into play.
So he makes the free throw. It's 25-21, 9.5 to go here in the Dome. 24 seconds on the shot clock for Kadary Richmond. Makes his first pass of the possession over to Alan Griffin on the left wing. Now Dolezaj at the top of the key. Boeheim left wing. Dolezaj comes to set a screen. Boeheim gets around it for the moment, but some good defense out of Mobali. And just like that, Alan Griffin turns it over, dribbles it off his knee, and Mobali's there to pick it up for the Bulls. Moving quickly, the other end is Buffalo. Jonathan Williams back into the game for the Bulls, and there's a foul on the left side. And Boeheim shaking his head, wondering what his team is doing right now. Silly fouls. Again, not necessarily fouls. It's not a shooting foul. Why would you ever foul if it's not a shooting foul? You're giving them free fouls here and an opportunity to gain their way into the bonus, as on the TV stream, they make fun of the many masks of Jim Boeheim so far this season. Now he's sporting that, face shield turned into a mask in the front of his mouth. It's clear, and Boeheim talked about it in his press conference. It doesn't cover his nose because he has some nostril problems, and he said it's very difficult for him to breathe. He talked about how he pulls the mask down to talk to his team. He pulls the mask down to yell. He pulls the mask down in the huddle. Basically, anytime he's going to talk, he pulls the mask down. So the question is, well, what's the mask for? But a requirement. And Boeheim, with the COVID-19 pandemic, he's had an interesting take on the entire thing. But nonetheless, it's a 4-point lead for Buffalo. 8.5 minutes to go. Kadary Richmond, the drive. The freshman nearly gets it to go. Alan Griffin, the offensive rebound. That gives the Orange a fresh 20 to work with. 8:19 left on the game clock for the first half. 25-21. Buffalo leads it by 4. Joe Girard III, a drive to the inside, able to nearly get the foul. The ref doesn't call it. Girard tried to draw the contact. Can't get the 2 to go. Moboli on the other side, and they're going to call an offensive foul on the court.
Yeah, Moboli's a big dude and another guy to worry about going down. I'm not sure if that was an offensive foul. Seems he did go straight into Dolezaj, who really did his job trying to draw that. But at the end of the day, Moboli, long and a great example of athleticism on that play right there.
Yeah, so, Mobolo with a great bucket there. They do count it as a blocking foul for Dolezaj. I saw, the ref points the other direction. Not sure if he pointed the wrong direction. He definitely pointed the other end towards Buffalo, which is the same they do when it's an offensive foul. But nonetheless, Mobolo does get the bucket and trip to the charity stripe, so it ends up being an and one for Mobolo and the Bulls. This one is up off the front rim, no good. Rebound, Kadary Richmond. 27-21 is your score inside the dome. 8 minutes left to play, and Buffalo with the big 6-point lead right now over Syracuse. Won it 2 years ago. Would love to do the same. Buffalo 3-2 so far on the season. Guerrier loses his dribble. He hits the deck, trying to get the ball over to John Bolajak, and it rolls out of bounds. A turnover for the Orange, and now Syracuse is getting sloppy with it.
Yeah, Boeheim, as we mentioned, quite the character, but he runs a tight ship, and he's certainly going to hear it right here from Boeheim. So definitely a handsy defense that we're looking at here from Buffalo, and Syracuse is going to have to adjust. I mean, they're just really more athletic than Syracuse. So like I said, Syracuse is going to have to slow down this game and see what they can do. But when they get into the inside, Buffalo's so athletic and so quick that really, even when they are reaching in, they really almost always get all ball. It's very impressive. I've never seen such a sharp defense from a smaller Division I school before.
Now, Boeheim really straying away from his starting 5, right? To start the game, it was Joe Girard at the point. It was Buddy at the 2. It was Alan Griffin at the 3. And it was Guerrier at the 4 and Dolezaj at the 5, right? The starting 5 that everyone would assume. It's been that way the whole year, except when the Orange played 2 games without Mr. Buddy Boeheim. But why is he straying so far away from that? I don't know if he's trying to find a spark, but you're trailing right now, and you have guys in there like John Bolajak coming in at the center position. Guerrier or Dolezaj might be gassed, but you have John Bolajak in the game. You have Woody Newton in the game. You have Kadary Richmond running the point. Just gets Girard back in there. Alan Griffin proving that he's struggling a little bit. So what's with all these different lineup mix-ups right now?
Yeah, I mean, really the only thing I can think of right now, obviously, is to rest your players a little bit, but more importantly, speak with them mentally, trying to get them off and on the court as quickly as possible in order for them to ensure that their mental game is fixed on the right idea, defensively and offensively. There's small things that they're not doing right now. It's likely that he's speaking with his son, Buddy Boeheim, about driving and drawing fouls more often because he's trying to pull up from mid-range and shots that he just isn't athletic enough to hit consistently, despite him generally being a better jump shooter on the team. So with that being said, Jim Boeheim, traditionally a guy who you can see look forward to the halftime talk, maybe a little bit too much, because here we have 5 or so minutes to go, and he's already pulled off almost the entire starting lineup. I mean, when you have Kadary Richmond and Woody Newton coming on and off, that makes sense. They're your 100% 6 and 7. But after that, it's 3 centers that we have that he's putting on and off. Right now, John Bolajak is a guy that you don't see on often. So to see him on is very concerning, obviously, as you see, your questioning of really what Boeheim's doing right now.
Yeah, Boeheim even has said in his press conference, it's evident in practice that the three centers they have are not ready. You know, Brahma Sidibe coming back is going to add another element to this basketball team, which has everybody excited. He finished off last season with a phenomenal performance really throughout the last month, but went off against North Carolina in the final game of 2020 before the world really shut down. That was in the ACC tournament, and they blew the Tar Heels out of the water. Sidibe was huge in that game, and that just capped off a really strong month for him, developing as the season went along, played really strong in those last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games. And Syracuse fans were really excited to see what he could do this year. Then he gets injured game one, and you have Dolezaj running the 5. The size proved to be a factor against Rutgers, as Rutgers doubled the Orange's rebounding total in that matchup in the high 40s against Syracuse's 26 rebounds in that game. Nonetheless, we're back to basketball. It's a 6-point advantage for Buffalo, 27-21, 7 minutes and 38 seconds left to go. Mabala tried to get a 2 on the inside. Guerrier knocked it away, and out of bounds it goes. So the Bulls will keep the possession, 19 seconds on the shot clock. John Bolajak in at the 5 for Syracuse. We've talked so many times about the lankiness of Bolajak and Selim and all of that, just because, you know, they don't have that muscular build that you like to see in a true center, especially playing in a Power 5 conference like the ACC. Mabala, a 2, and he doesn't get it to fall, but he will take a trip to the free throw line. The good thing for Syracuse, he hasn't hit many of those tonight, and his opportunities have been plenty.
Yeah, lack of size at the center position has been something that Syracuse is traditionally worried about for really far too many years now. I mean, Syracuse has struggled to really develop strong men in the paint. You know, if we look at the coaching staff, they're all generally guards, and that's a story that we could go down for, you know, many hours. But really, at the end of the day, a lack of training and strength training really at the center position. Quincy Guerrier, the strongest guy in the court, and he's not even our guy at the 5 position.
And Syracuse head coach Jim Boeheim said, you know, his 3 centers aren't ready, which is why Dolezaj is playing at the 5, plain and simple. You have John Bolajak in here, and Selim's even a little bit of a bigger body, but Bolajak in there because he has that extra year of experience. As Kaderi Richmond, a drive to the inside, he made that one look easy. The freshman with an explosive crossover and the dish, kissing it off the glass, drawing this Orange team just a little bit closer. 29-23 is your score, 6-point advantage for the Bulls inside the dome. 6:58 left to play here in the first half. 3-pointer from the top of the key. Count it. Buffalo is on fire right now, and that bucket is by the guard at the top, Ronaldo Segu, a junior out of Orlando Christian Prep, and he has played phenomenal basketball so far. Haven't seen Jonathan Williams since the beginning of the game, still on the bench. That's a huge question mark when he leads this team in scoring. Alan Griffin, a spin around floater that drops. What a jumper that was from the Illinois transfer. 32-25 is your score, and it looks like the beginning of the game again, where both these teams can't miss. 6:21 left to play. 32-25, still a lead for Buffalo. Segu thought about a 3 at the top of the key, got Richmond out of position a little bit. Mabala on the inside, and he makes a highly contested layup that time. Mabala showing off his physical strength and stature down low, what Syracuse struggled with weeks ago against Rutgers. Guerrier, a drive inside, kissed it off the front of the rim, no good. Out of bounds it went off the hands of Alan Griffin, and Buffalo takes it. Longest and largest lead so far tonight. They've led it for a while, and it's up to its largest amount, 34-25. It's a 9-point advantage for the Bulls. They're starting to stretch this thing out and really start to run away with it a little bit, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, Syracuse struggles more against 3-point shooting teams. Buffalo, not afraid to shoot the 3 ball, and they're doing it successfully thus far, which is really the reason that they're up by 9 points right now.
Again, 9-point advantage for Buffalo. Kick to the inside, and a 2-pointer is up and good. Count the layup. Chase Robinson in right now for the Bulls. 6'1", 169-pound guard. True freshman out of Lincoln Prep. A kid from Louisiana. 3-pointer off the mark for Buddy Boeheim. Guerrier pulled down a rebound. Couldn't get the putback to go. Still up to an 11-point advantage for the Bulls. 3-pointer from the corner. Count it. This Bulls team cannot miss. Javon Graves. Jim Boeheim calls a timeout. It's all blue and black inside the dome as the Orange find themselves behind big time, 39-25, 5:16 left to go. Javon Graves has his team up plenty. The Orange have put themselves in quite a hole, Kyle.
Really, I mean, they're living and dying by the three-pointer right now, and they're certainly living by it. Buffalo, what an athletic squad. I was not expecting this. Off the bat, obviously fresh legs. They're going up and down the court quickly. Then Syracuse gains control of the pace a little bit, slows it down, gets within single digits, and then all of a sudden Buffalo, without the need of G. Nathan Williams, just stretches the court laterally, horizontally, and from the wings, they've been absolute hot shots. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's back-to-back triples for this team, and it's from two different guys as well, which is exciting to see, and you haven't even had Williams on the court since the beginning. I'm wondering if there's some sort of injury or something because he's your leading scorer. Now, you haven't needed him on the court. You're leading this thing by 14 points right now against Syracuse, but that is certainly a question mark for me anyways, is why is your leading scorer not in the game? Again, we don't have the broadcasters turned on, and they have that on-court access that we do not have. There very well could be an injury, not assuming right now, but Mballa continues to be in this game, and we have not seen Williams since just minutes into the opening tip, but it's still a 14-point advantage right now for Buffalo, 39-25. Kadari Richmond driving from the left corner, puts up a floater, and it dribbles around for a couple of minutes on the rim before dropping. So Syracuse gets this one, an easy bucket right from the timeout. Jim Boeheim most likely drew that thing up in the huddle, and it's 39-27, 12-point advantage in the Dome for the Bulls. 4:42 left to go. They won the last contest between the two teams in 2018, looking to do the same. And a drive on the inside, and it's called against Buffalo. So that's going to be an offensive foul against David Nickelberry, Joe Girard III, the one that's able to soak it and sell it. Nickelberry just caught Girard a few moments late as Girard was able to get his feet set out of the line, the arc that you're not allowed to stand within and call a charge. 39-27, Syracuse gets the ball back. Buddy Boeheim pulls up from three, top of the key, bounces off the back of the rim, high into the air, and an easy rebound this time for Buffalo by Graves. 12-point advantage, and they have the ball. 22 seconds in the shot clock. 4:17 left to play. Graves thought about a three, kicks it to Nickelberry in the right corner. That one off the front of the rim, no good. And Nickelberry tried to get his own rebound. Out of bounds it went. Dolezaj was closest to it for Syracuse, but it is off the hands of Nickelberry. And the Orange get it back, 39-27, 4 minutes to play inside the Dome. Dolezaj, top of the key, drives, spins, and nearly gets that layup off. He's fouled, hitting his arm that time. It looked like it might have been Segu. And Jim Boeheim calls a timeout, I believe. 39-27 is your score inside the Dome. 4 minutes left to go. When we come back, it'll be Merrick Dolezaj shooting 2 free throws. But Kyle, Syracuse trying to get some scoring going, putting up a lot of three-point shots. And you said that Buffalo's living and dying off the three-point shot, and they're living by it. Syracuse, kind of the opposite. They're living and dying by it, and right now they're dying as they find themselves down big or late in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day for Syracuse, my key to the game will always be utilizing the paint. Drive, drive, drive. Joe Girard, a guy that refuses to drive, and even when he does, he's too small to put up good shots. So, if we want Joe Girard to get on the inside, then that's the time for him to either draw fouls or kick it out to the wing and create more opportunities from there. If we have guys like Buddy Boeheim or Alan Griffin who are successful wing shooters, why not drive to the inside and create opportunities? Even Merrick Dolezaj, our leading assist guy at the center position, or at least he's supposed to be our center, he's not afraid to roll out to the top of the key, play off that high screen, and create more opportunities from there as well. He's very quick at his position. Really, anybody who can drive to the inside and is quick enough to create more opportunities from there, whether it's drawing fouls, forcing up buckets, or kicking it out to the wing, that'll be a better opportunity and more efficient for Syracuse on the offensive end of the court.
So if you're Buffalo, you want to really finish strong here. 4 minutes left exactly in the first half of action. You'd love to take that lead going into the locker room to keep it at double digits. Right now, a 12-point advantage for the Bulls. What does that mean going into the locker room for Syracuse? If you're trailing by double digits to Buffalo, your younger brother, in an in-state matchup, and this is the second game in a row where when we thought coming into this season, this team was going to be able to score with ease and defense would be the problem, it seems like offense has been the problem in the last 2 contests. So what are you thinking of your coach, Jim Boeheim?
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think, Syracuse with a lead going into the second half would be awesome for a mental advantage. But really, at the end of the day, Syracuse almost always keeps the games close or low scoring, whether it's going into the locker room or just throughout the entire game, because they play off of their 2-3 zone. Their 2-3 zone sets up the pace for their game. They hinder teams on the offensive end of the court almost always, it seems to be the case. So really, at the end of the day, you'd like to see Syracuse not in the lead, but at least close or within reach of Buffalo, because at the end of the day, anything can happen. That's the part of the chaos of Cardiac Cuse is, a nice name that we so dearly call them. So really, at the end of the day, you have to look at, mentally, does this mean much to Syracuse? You would like to think so, but you never know.
Now, I mentioned it before that Buffalo beat Syracuse their last go around. That was inside the dome, and the Orange struggled in 2018. Now, that was a great Buffalo squad, won the MAC, made it all the way to the NCAA tournament, and Buffalo trying to do the same thing in back-to-back matchups with the Orange. Again, an in-state rival. Syracuse doesn't have, I don't think, any players on this squad that played in that matchup besides Buddy Boeheim, was a freshman in 2018. So Boeheim's going to feel that. The assistant coach is Alan Griffin, not the Alan Griffin, the player. There is an assistant coach who played for Syracuse back in the day, McNamara. They all remember that. You'd like to think that would have this team amped up. And as well, Barama Sidibe and Merrick Dolezaj were a part of that squad. So Dolezaj at the free throw line right now makes his first free throw, and he has two of them. Second one is up and good. So it's a 10-point advantage for Buffalo now inside the dome. 4 minutes exactly as the clock continues to wind. Before we head into the locker room for halftime, Syracuse trying to make this thing a little bit closer before they go ahead and talk about it for a couple of minutes. 3 minutes and 47 seconds left, 16 seconds in the shot clock for the Bulls. Running the point is Syracuse at the top alongside Graves, and Syracuse has it at the top of the key. Screen here. Now Graves. Corner three is up and good. Buffalo can't miss. Finding the bottom of the bucket was Keyshawn Bruton. That's his second three-pointer of the night. The 170-pound, 6'2" senior guard out of Coastal Carolina, his previous school. Syracuse now moving the other way. They trail by 13. Buddy Boeheim gives it off to Guerrier, who's on the left wing. Back off to Boeheim, top of the key. Boeheim rolls around it, tries to drive to the inside, and that one's swatted away by Graves. Graves with a terrific block on the interior for Buffalo. Guard-on-guard action. Buddy Boeheim has the height advantage. Graves says no way.
Yeah, that's a really athletic play right there. And, just like Boeheim likes to see really long guards, whether they're on the inside or the top of the key for the 2-3 zone, you see it on display here for Buffalo. Really long players at their position, being really athletic, not afraid to get handsy, and really a lack of fouls for a team that has gotten so many steals and blocks thus far.
Syracuse nearly turning it over again. They'll inbound. It was a foul on the floor. Kadary Richmond pulls up. He had to take a deep two because it was that late in the shot clock, and it's off the mark. Rebound going the other way for Buffalo. Syracuse has it at the top of the key. Syracuse over to Graves on the right side. Now a drive to the middle. This one's blocked away by Alan Griffin. Offensive rebound. Kicked out to Syracuse at the top. He kicks over to Graves. He lets a three-pointer fly. Alan Griffin with the block. Rebound Dolezaj up to Kadary Richmond. Richmond a drive and an easy two. He got the nice Euro step going for Syracuse. The freshman converts on the fast break opportunity, and that's defense turned into offense. One of the first chances that Syracuse has had to make that play. First time we've seen it tonight. 42-31 is your score, but what a play offensively and defensively for the Orange. That was a team effort.
Yeah, and you see there, both teams with 20 points in the paint, but the difference maker is that three-point shot for Buffalo thus far.
And a three-pointer is off the mark for the Bulls going the other way. Syracuse gets it back down 11. Alan Griffin on the inside, thinking about what to do with it. No offensive foul call. Dish to Guerrier, and he gets the layup to fall. Syracuse down within 9. 42-33, minute 52 to go. How about Alan Griffin? Able to make the body contact. Trying to draw the foul was Mobali on the inside, and the referee said no way. Alan Griffin kicked it to Guerrier for the easy two. So the Orange down by 9. Syracuse the pump fake, tried to drive, lost handle of it, able to corral, kisses one off the glass, off the front rim, no good. Kaderi Richmond, the rebound. Syracuse going the other way inside a minute and a half to play. Pass to Dolezaj on the interior. Kick out. Buddy, left side. Corner three-pointer, no good. And now Syracuse going the other way. Lob to the Graves. Graves cutting to the rim. Alley-oop for the Bulls, and they take any kind of momentum out of the sails for Syracuse. What a play for Buffalo. From Syracuse to Graves in transition. Jim Boeheim doesn't look happy. Double dribble for the Orange. Minute and 11 to go. The Bulls up 11.
Back and forth right there, and a long athletic play there by Graves. Perfect lob, and he slams it home. What a play. Slashing in laterally, and like I said, coming in horizontally has been the weakness of Syracuse on defense. You know, it's easy to sneak by that backcourt if you're cutting in behind them horizontally. And that's another play right there where it really didn't matter that much because they're in transition, but you're getting around wide and slamming it home. That's a great play by Buffalo right there.
Absolutely. Graves was cutting to the hoop, and Syracuse able to find him. No problem for Buffalo as they continue to, every time Syracuse claws their way back, a couple of big buckets, right? The Orange have struggled from three, but maybe they get an easy two on the inside, and then they get a steal, and they go down the court in a fast break score, so Syracuse brings it back to within single digits. Buffalo is right there to remind the Orange that they're dominating this first half, and it's really not even close.
Yeah, I mean, they're living by that three-point shot right now. This is extremely impressive. We weren't really expecting this. I mean, they're 3-2 coming into this game, and if they keep playing like this, they're likely to leave 4-2.
44-33 is the score inside the Dome. It's an 11-point advantage for the Bulls. A minute and 11 left to play here in the first half, and Buffalo has the ball. Syracuse running the point at the top. Gives it off to a couple of different Buffalo teammates. Some mismatch in here. And on the interior, a lob nearly able to get it to go was Mabala, and Guerrier gets the foul called, and it looks like Graves is going to take a trip to the free throw line because it was off the ball. 59 seconds left. Graves will have an opportunity for a 1-and-1 at the charity stripe. Graves' first free throw is up and good. So count it, 45-33. It's a 12-point advantage for Buffalo. And we still have not seen Jonathan Williams, but it has not proven to be a problem so far. Second one is nothing but net, 46-33. Just under a minute to go inside the Dome. Kaderi Richmond running the point for a struggling Syracuse team. Over to Dolezaj, top of the key. He'll take a drive at it. Dolezaj spinning, trying to put up a two, nearly walked with it, and look at Marek Dolezaj, the senior making things happen in crunch time. That was an isolation play on Marek Dolezaj, and he made it happen.
Yeah, good use of the pivot foot tonight by Syracuse in the paint.
Lob to the inside, and Mabala slams it home. Buffalo there to remind Syracuse that they continue to dominate the first half. Syracuse finds Mabala cutting to the rim, and it's an easy alley-oop for Buffalo. 14 seconds left to go. 48-35 is the lead for the Bulls, and Syracuse will take the last shot. Kaderi Richmond holding for it. Drives to the inside. Kick out. Alan Griffin, a deep three, highly contested. Dolezaj a rebound, and he's able to get it to go with a second left. Inbound, full court shot for Syracuse as well after the buzzer. And that's how we will head into the locker room. It was an alley-oop on the other end of the court between Syracuse and Mabala, and Dolezaj gets Alan Griffin's putback from three-point line. It was a struggle in the first half for Syracuse, and Buffalo is on fire. 48-37 is your score at the half as both teams head into the locker room, Kyle. Before we let everyone go, we're going to take a look at some of the stats so far on this game. But just tell me in general, what are you seeing out of Buffalo? How about the Bulls?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they stretch the court horizontally, and they really utilize the best way to play against a 2-3 zone. If you're a successful three-point shooting team, you're going to be kind of oriented towards success against the Syracuse defense. The 2-3 zone is geared so that you force the hardest shot in basketball, which will always be the three-point shot. And if you don't cook under the pressure really and succeed on those three-point shooting attempts, you're going to be just fine. And really, they open up those opportunities for themselves so well by getting into the paint and kicking it out to the wing, or really using the high screen and getting in and kicking it out to the wing, which is something I'd like to see Syracuse do. Syracuse, they need to get into the paint as much as possible. It's evident that they're not a confident three-point shooting team. Their best three-point shooter, generally Buddy Boeheim, he has taken none from the arc as far as I know. And really, when we have Kadari Richmond in, who's more athletic at the guard position than Joe Girard, you'd like to see Marek Dolezaj get up for the high screen, or, maybe even a pick and roll, because he is pretty quick off the ball. And then, Kadari Richmond with an opportunity to get into the paint, kick it out like he did in that last play, and eventually had an opportunity on the rebound from that three-point shot from Alan Griffin in the wing. But nonetheless, a lot of opportunities to be made for Syracuse here.
Absolutely. The Bulls out to a large lead over Syracuse. It's been a good one so far inside the Dome, but Buffalo really dominating it on their big brother. Syracuse, that Power 5 school, that ACC school. Buffalo playing out of the MAC conference, but proving that they can play with the best of them, Kyle. So if you're Syracuse coming into the second half, do you think you'll see a little bit of a press defense, maybe a full court press out of Jim Boeheim and company?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure about that, because honestly, they live and die by the 2-3 zone. And it might just be some small mechanical changes or mental changes for those guys in the backcourt, and to ensure that wing shot will not be left open. But I wouldn't be surprised to see that full court press for sure. That would certainly take away the opportunities for them to kind of stretch the court horizontally, and instead ensure that, when they man up, that the size differences won't come into play too much. Obviously in the inside, Mabali only at 6'7", or at least that's what he's listed at, but I'd like to think he's a lot taller than that. He certainly looks a lot taller. And I mean, he's a big guy, long, and he's already gotten the alley-oop in. So a lot of things to worry about for Syracuse defensively, which is why, of course, you're asking me this question. And, Buddy Boeheim's probably thinking the same thing. Full court press could be certainly a possibility right now.
49-37 is your score inside the Dome, and we'll take a look at some of the stats real quick before we let you go for a quick halftime break, and we'll be back just about 5 minutes before the second half gets underway. So looking at the box score right now for this game between the two teams, Syracuse leading the way in scoring is Quincy Guerrier with 9 points. He's 3 for 6 from the field. He has 6 rebounds. So again, well on his way to possibly another double-double. That would be his 4th so far of the season. And at that point, he would lead the Atlantic Coast Conference, currently tied for 1st. Marek Dolezaj has 9 points as well. He is 3 for 3 from the field with 2 rebounds and 2 assists. Joe Girard is still scoreless, the only one in the starting lineup that is scoreless. Alan Griffin has 4. Buddy Boeheim has 9. Kadari Richmond has 6. And Woody Newton is scoreless as well, alongside John Bull Ajak. That's who we've seen tonight so far out of Syracuse. We have not seen Jonathan Williams since early on in the game. And in that early portion of the game, he jumped out to a quick lead for Buffalo. 10 points in just a few minutes, went 4 for 5 and 2 for 3 from three-point land. Leading the way for the Bulls right now is Mabalo. He's 5 for 10 with 13 points, and Graves is right behind him with 12 points. So we're excited for a second half here in Central New York, as the Orange will look to claw their way back on home turf inside the Carrier Dome. But for now, in the halftime break, it's a 49-37 lead for Buffalo. For Kyle Marchak, I'm Giovanni Heater, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Welcome back inside the Carrier Dome. It's Syracuse and Buffalo going at it in a non-conference matchup. A big one, though, an in-state rivalry. Buffalo leads it big at halftime over the Orange. 48-37 is your current score. Buffalo leads it by 11 exactly. Giovanni Heater alongside Kyle Marchak, your broadcast team for tonight. And though the Orange are down big, Kyle, it's been a fun one here inside the Dome. And it's kind of cool because though we are Syracuse fans, it's hard not to root for that other in-state team. You know, Buffalo, along with Army, West Point, and Cornell are really the teams in New York. And when the Orange aren't playing, we are guilty of rooting for Buffalo, Cornell, Army. So it's a little hard not to root for the Bulls, but you definitely don't when they're playing against the Orange. But the Bulls are playing phenomenal basketball right now. Tell me about this team.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly a deep roster. Initially, it seemed it was all Jonathan Williams, and hopefully we'll get some income on why he hasn't been on the court since early on. But, you know, he was the guy to look out for. But really, Javon Graves and, you know, Stogman have really replaced him well. And honestly, I'd like to blame it on only them, but Mbala, all the other faces coming onto the court have really done their job on really finishing when they get into the paint and creating the right opportunities offensively for Buffalo, as well as being sharp in the paint on the defensive side of the court. So really a deep and athletic squad here in Buffalo.
Now, if you're Syracuse and Jim Boeheim, what are you saying right now in the locker room to get yourself back into this game? You're only down 11. Syracuse has proven this year that they can score the ball in spurts. I mean, they dropped 101 points in Conti Forum against Boston College. They dropped 85 points in the opener. They dropped 87 points against Rider. This team can score. They're not doing it tonight. They're living and dying by that three, and they're dying by that three, like you've said so many times. So what does Syracuse have to do to turn things around in the second half?
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think that it's probably the lack of three-point shooting, but of course, Syracuse isn't that efficient from the three-point line. Buddy Boeheim really the only guy who can do that efficiently. But if we look at the numbers, I mean, both teams are less than 30 points in the paint overall. And the thing is almost all of our points are in the paint, right? So, you know, with that being said, you know, Buffalo's been a more efficient shooting team. They're getting in and out of the paint and scoring on both sides. So at the end of the day, you might think maybe a full court press would be here, or at least maybe just a man for Syracuse. Boeheim could possibly be thinking about that right now. It's certainly plausible considering the lack of defensive excellence from them. They're really opening up that three-point opportunity from the wing for Buffalo. And Buffalo's really done a great job of coming in and out of the paint laterally in order to create those opportunities. And you'd like to see Syracuse replicate that on their offensive side of the court, possibly with a high ball screen, which I think works well, or maybe even a pick and roll, as long as it's Dolezaj that's setting the screen, because he's an athletic guy off the ball and he can make plays once he gets it driving into the paint.
The Orange are without Elijah Hughes this season, who was drafted to the Utah Jazz, and he's been playing phenomenal basketball so far, surprising a lot of people. Signed a 2-year contract with the Utah Jazz. That's extremely rare because a lot of the time when you're a rookie, you first of all, especially a second-round rookie, you have to make the team first, right? He not only did that, he got a 2-year deal. A lot of the time, if you're a second-round pick, you'll sign a 2-way deal where you play both ways, a couple of games here and there in the G League, a couple of games in the NBA, and you really predominantly stay down in the lower level and develop in the G League. And over here, Elijah Hughes starts off with a 2-year deal of a lot of money. They really like him in Utah, so Syracuse fans happy for him. But we're underway in the second half for college basketball inside the Dome. 48-37 is your score. Girard starts quickly. He lets a floater go from the elbow and count it. So Syracuse draws a little bit closer. 48-39 now your score. 19:40 left to go. They counted it as a three-pointer on the scoreboard. I definitely think he was well within the 2-point range. So that is going to change, and it does. A foul on the floor now. And Jonathan Williams back into the game for Buffalo. So wondering why we didn't see him through most of the first half. But whatever happened in the locker room, he's back. But look at that pull-up from Joe Girard III. That was something of excellence. Perfectly done. Steal on the inside. Marek Dolezaj and Girard running up the floor, slowing things down a little bit for Syracuse. Girard thought about pulling up again inside of that three-point arc. Elects not to Dolezaj. Back out to Girard so he can get his dribble back on the left wing. Mbala tightly guarding him. Girard gives it off Dolezaj, top of the key. Dolezaj facilitating the offense right now. Spins around off to Girard, lets a three-pointer fly from the top of the key, hits off the front of the rim, and no good. Rebound Graves, and the Bulls moving quickly. Syracuse tried to get Mubala on an alley-oop try, and unable to hit was Mubala. The pass was just a little bit off the mark. Rebound Alan Griffin, three-pointer Buddy Boeheim, and that one's no good. Offensive rebound for Dolezaj, can't get it to go. Guerrier tried to do the same, and instead it's tipped away out of bounds. Not off the hands of Quincy Guerrier, though. Syracuse will keep this possession alive, and Brock Bertram was the guilty party, a senior for this squad out of Apple Valley, Minnesota. And he's a 6'11", 242-pound center. First time we've called this game tonight, but he's played nearly the entire game for this team on the inside. Boeheim pulls up from the elbow. That one's left short. 48-39 is your score. Boeheim comes in to get a steal. Now to Girard. Alan Griffin, three from the left wing. That one no good. And a rebound. Graves finally going the other way. Syracuse can't get the lid off of that bucket tonight so far. Syracuse over to the inside. Jonathan Williams. Williams to Mubala on the interior. Mubala guarded by Guerrier as well as Alan Griffin. To a cutting Graves. Graves a floater. Dribbles around for a moment, and there to tip it in is Jonathan Williams. 50-39. Williams back into the game and making an impact. 18-01. That's a problem Syracuse didn't have to deal with early on, and the problem has since drawn itself back into the game. Boeheim cutting to the hoop, off the rim, no good. And tipping it in was Quincy Guerrier. 50-41, Kyle, 9-point advantage. But Jonathan Williams is back, and he's a problem.
Yeah, Guerrier with the point and the rebound there. He's really doing his job in the paint right now.
Three-pointer is up and good for the Bulls. Syracuse let one fly from deep, and the three-pointer is money. 17:28 left to play. 53-41 is the lead for the Buffalo Bulls. Alan Griffin, step back two from the ACC logo. Rattles around, no good. Jonathan Williams going coast to coast. The two-pointer, the Euro step over Quincy Guerrier, and it looked easy. 55-41, 17-01. Syracuse shooting from the field 36%. Buffalo 51%, and it shows on the scoreboard. Girard facilitating, step back from the free throw line, rattles around, no good. Rebounded this time by Buffalo, but out of bounds it goes, and that time it's off the hands of Brock Bertram once more. Kyle, Syracuse, just they're settling for these deep shots. They're settling for these deep twos, these threes, not getting any kind of penetration inside, and it's proving to be costly.
Yeah, Girard coming off the high screen there from Dolezaj, and instead he elects to pull up from the free throw line, which is a deep two when you're driving in. So really not a shot you need to take there.
Boeheim, a highly contested three, no good. Graves the rebound. He's the one that had a hand in the face of Buddy Boeheim. Now Jonathan Williams, feed to the inside, a cutting Graves, kisses it off the glass. It's all Buffalo inside the dome. 57-41, 16:33 left to go. Jim Boeheim calls a timeout. How about these Buffalo Bulls, Marchak?
Yeah, this is a fired up group of young men. You see Bertram setting that high screen and able to hit that three-pointer is Bruton, I believe so. And really, I mean, just everyone's been hitting three-point shots. And if they aren't, they're going into the paint and finishing. Jonathan back into the game, and he's the best finisher in the MAC, I'd like to believe. I've really done my studying looking at other MAC teams. Of course, all teams that you don't hear of that much. Of course, Miami, Ohio is a team to look out for in that division. And if you look at Jonathan Williams, he's such a good slasher at the 6'5" forward position, 20 points per game. I mean, the numbers say it. This dude can ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And still don't know why he was not active literally most of the first half, but came in and dropped 10 points in the early minutes, stepped away, was on the bench. There was no going to the locker room. He never even looked injured or anything. He was just simply sitting on the bench, still full uniform, no street clothes, not even the warm-ups back on. He was just fully in uniform, wasn't in the game. And I don't know if it's because they didn't need him, but he's back to start the second half and clearly better than ever.
Yeah, Jamie Quarles filling in for his head coach today at Buffalo, Jim Weitzel. And, you know, it may be a unique decision that he chose on his part, but whatever he's doing right now is certainly working. So I wouldn't like to question it.
Yeah, this Buffalo team firing on all cylinders. And besides Jonathan Williams, there's other guys that are contributing. And to that, you have to look at the guards at the top for this team. Ronaldo Syracuse, a junior out of Orlando, Florida. And then you have to look to Javon Graves, if you ask me, a senior out of Malvern, Ohio, a guard, 6'3", 200-pounder. So Graves and Segu really seem to be leading the way up at the top, and that's creating those opportunities for guys like Jonathan Williams. And Mubala is playing phenomenal basketball as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a well-rounded squad, and Mbala is really fun to watch too. Like I said, listed at 6'7", which I do not elect to believe. He certainly looks a lot taller and longer than that. But at the end of the day, similar to Quincy Guerrier in that they're both kind of undersized at their position, but, use their athleticism to their strength. Quincy Guerrier at the 3/4 position, usually 4, and that's really the spot that he's supposed to be at. And he's very big at that position, but he lacks some basic strengths. At the end of the day, he uses his length to really ball and rebound out, and Mbala playing similarly.
Now, one of my biggest pet peeves is these comparisons to college guys, to NBA guys, right? But if I had to draw a comparison, Jonathan Williams plays like Kevin Durant with the ability, with that kind of length, that kind of size. And really, he's not a big muscular body. He's kind of a lanky body, but with that height to do the things he does off the dribble, to do the things he does shooting the ball from deep, and then also to have that game on the interior to dominate in the paint. Nobody does it like that but Kevin Durant, and he simply looks like him out there playing on the court, the body type and the physical play.
Yeah, you're certainly right. Similar body type, despite the height difference. Of course, at the end of the day, Williams definitely not undersized at his position at 6'5" and really a small forward, whereas Kevin Durant usually listed at power forward or small forward at almost 7 feet. I mean, he's probably 6'10", might be listed at 6'11", but still, I'd like that comparison, Gio. One of my pet peeves too is comparing guys to the next league up. But at the end of the day, that is a plausible comparison. Both the guys, similar body type, similar playing style for sure. A great slasher and a great shooter.
Back to basketball, we go inside the dome. Syracuse down big by 16, 57-41, 16:23 left to go. The good news is the Orange have the ball. Marek Dolezaj, spin move, kick out, Buddy Boeheim driving from the top of the key, and he gets the floater to go from just outside that hash where you can't step in for a travel call. And it's the no-fly zone, sometimes, as they call it. Buddy Boeheim gets the 2, 57-43, 16:04 left to go, 21 seconds left on the shot clock for Buffalo. But Jonathan Williams has himself a response. Rather, it was Mubala with the basket, and he gets the easy 2 for the Bulls. 59-43, 15:51 left on the game clock for Syracuse, and they're slowly running out of time. Almost 5 minutes gone here in the first half. Quincy Guerrier pulling up, corner 3, count it. That's the element to his game that Syracuse fans have been surprised with this year. Quincy Guerrier, a deep 3 from the left corner. He let it fly, and he scored it with ease. 59-46, 15:29 left to go. Guerrier, really that bright spot for Syracuse so far today. Mubala, a tough bucket in the face of Marek Dolezaj on the other end of the court. You simply can't get this team to stop scoring if you're Syracuse. Even when you have a hand in the face, it doesn't get harder than that fadeaway shot from Mubala on the interior. He gets it to go. Guerrier cutting to the rim, nearly got an and one, but he'll take 2 from the free throw line. Whew! It's getting exciting here in the Dome despite a big lead for Buffalo, Kyle.
Yeah, back and forth here again. And really, that's the pace that Buffalo wants to play at. And like I said, Syracuse needs to slow this game down if they want to have it fall in their favor. Guerrier, if we're looking at this footage right here, a big shot from the wing. Not something you expect from him. Usually more of a power forward type of guy, but not afraid to shoot from the wing right there. Great shot by Guerrier, but nonetheless, they answered back at Buffalo. So Buffalo almost running away with it now, it seems.
You got to love it, right? If you're a Syracuse fan or a Buffalo fan, 2 in-state rivals going at it, but Syracuse fans certainly not happy with the way their team has played through the last 2 matchups. They struggled against Northeastern on Wednesday, and the struggles have been real tonight against Buffalo. They can't score, and they can't stop the Bulls, and that has equated to a large lead for Buffalo, Kyle. So, again, we talked about it so many times. I'm not going to ask you the question again if how Syracuse is going to get back into this game. We've stated it, right? But we're simply not seeing it.
No. Yeah. I mean, you'd like to see maybe a full court press or at least some man instead of that 2-3 zone, because clearly Buffalo not afraid to split up that backcourt and shoot those wing threes that they've kind of been living by all night. So Boeheim's got to make some serious changes soon. Not with the players, but just mechanically. How are you going to set up this defense? How are you going to create more opportunities on offense? I'd like to see more of the high ball screen or maybe a pick and roll from Joe Girard or even Kadary Richmond, who seems to be better at driving into the paint than his his, senior in Joe Girard. So a lot of things to look at here for Boeheim, who certainly has a tough job going forward as Buffalo seems to be running away with it here.
Yeah, and I completely agree. It's time for a defensive change to see a little bit of a press here. I mean, it's needed. And the press has proven to be effective for Syracuse the times they've pulled it out of their hat so far this season, except when they pulled it out in the first half against Bryant. Wasn't necessarily needed. Boeheim was experimenting a little bit. But besides that, it's been effective for Syracuse. My fear with the press right now is this team can score in transition. Buffalo's pulled up alley-oops, a couple of them against Syracuse. They've had a plentiful amount of transition points. They're sharing the ball with each other. They're unselfish when those transition opportunities come up. And the fast break has been a big reason why Buffalo has really opened up this game besides their three-point shooting abilities. So I'm scared for Syracuse to go in that press if I'm an SU fan as well, because Buffalo can score in the short court, but they can score when you stretch the floor as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's such a triple threat. Like you said, in transition, they're not afraid to slash. A lot of alley-oops we've seen from this offense today, and Bally really long in his position, not afraid to get up there and slam it home. And even if he can't slam it home off a bad pass, he gets that rebound and puts it right back up and in. So really a tough job here for Syracuse. Not sure what changes they will make, but certainly some needed.
And that's been the struggle of the Orange this year, has been simply having a bigger guy on the interior. This is the model of a team that Syracuse is going to struggle with this year. And that's been the story over the last handful of seasons, as long as we can really remember since joining the ACC. A team that can spread the floor, a team that can shoot the three, and a team that has a confident big man on the inside, a guy that's bigger than anybody else that Syracuse has. Buffalo has that in Mbala. Syracuse without Barama Sidibe, having a true forward playing the center position in Marek Dolezaj. And that's the recipe that teams are going to need to beat Syracuse this year. Buffalo has it tonight. Rutgers had it. Size, the ability to rebound, the ability to shoot the three, and to have a big man. So, I mean, Syracuse proving to struggle against these kind of teams this year.
Yeah, you'd like to think without Barama Sidibe, there would be maybe more success in the court with his presence, as we see Syracuse coming out with this full court press here.
And Guerrier goes 2 for 2 from the line. So it's a 61-48 advantage for Buffalo. And here they are in transition. Cutting to the basket that time was Newberry, and the bucket counts. So that's what I talked about, Kyle. They can play well in the transition game, and they just jump right ahead of the trap, and they're able to get two going the other way, except the basket is waved off. I believe there was a foul on the interior. Again, we can't hear the whistles. We just kind of go off what we see because we don't want to hear the broadcasters have that conflict with anything we say. So Guerrier driving. This one gets swatted away on the inside by Hardnett, and that's the first time we've called his game so far tonight either. LaQuil Hardnett, a 6'8", 200-pound forward, sophomore out of Cincinnati that he's transferring from the Bearcats, and he gets a block on Guerrier. The Orange keep the ball. Girard, quick pull-up. That one's off the front rim. No good. Chasing after it is Dolezaj for the offensive board. It's 61-48 still. 14:42 to go in the Dome. And Syracuse has to be in crunch time if you're the Orange. Guerrier, pull-up three from the left side. He's fouled, so he'll get 3 shots from the free throw line. Jonathan Williams is the guilty party, hitting the arm of Quincy Guerrier. He did a good job of selling it. Couldn't make the 3, no 4-point play, but he'll get 3 shots. And man, Kyle, was that a good job of selling it by Guerrier? Barely hitting his fingers as Williams, and Guerrier completely hits the deck.
Yeah, the theatrics right there from Guerrier. Good way to draw the foul, but at the end of the day, might have been called either way. But now we have to worry about Guerrier's free throw shooting here as we see him miss the first one.
Misses the first one. 14:36 on the clock. And that one stopped. Guerrier misses the second one. First one was left short. Second one is too strong off the back iron. And Coach Boeheim shaking his head right now. I mean, if you're Guerrier, these are points. These are free points that you need. Third one is up and good. So Guerrier goes 1 for 3 from the charity stripe. And that's one part of his game that he needs to improve upon because he's really good at getting to the free throw line. But hey, if you're going to get there, you got to make your shots, right? Otherwise, it could be a turnover at that point. You can't go 1 for 1, 1 for 3. You need to hit those 2 for 2s if you're going to get there. Jonathan Williams, other end of the court. Man, is he good. Misses that one too strong off the backboard. But an offensive rebound, kick to the inside from Nickelberry. Goes past Jonathan Williams, out of bounds. It sails. A little bit of miscommunication. Nickelberry frustrated with himself. Jim Boeheim shaking his head, but it was tipped away by Buddy Boeheim. Buffalo keeps the possession. Nickelberry to inbound. 14:21 left on the clock, 16 seconds on the shot clock for Buffalo. Nickelberry to inbound. Over to Mumbali. Top of the key is Segu. Over to Jonathan Williams on the right corner. Back to Segu, top of the key. Mumbali comes to set a screen. Boeheim tightly guarding at the top of the zone. Mumbali a drive to the inside, and there is a foul on the floor against Marek Dolezaj, and it looks like Mumbali is going to have this possession for the Bulls. No free throws. He was not in the act of shooting just yet, and there's no bonus, but this one is going go against Marek Dolezaj. A little bit of trip call, Kyle. I don't know. Tic-tac foul, what'd you see?
Yeah, I mean, Dolezaj getting in the way right there, and he usually is handsy on the inside, and that's just a small thing of, you can't afford to get that guy in foul trouble, and that's usually something you'll see from Dolezaj, getting in foul trouble far too often. Boeheim not happy with him.
Jonathan Williams, three-pointer. That one too strong. Off the back rim. Kadary Richmond, a pass up to Buddy Boeheim, who gets the easy two. Fast break points for Syracuse is what will get him back into this game. Now Mumbali moving quick on the other end of the court, puts up a two, and it's going to be a foul on the interior, but instead it's an offensive foul against Mbala, and he knows it. 61-51. Syracuse has this thing within 10, and they haven't had it within 10 in a while. So a 10-point game here. The Orange will have the ball as well. Dolezaj able to draw the contact on the charge, and that's a great play out of Doley, the senior.
Yeah, a good chance to bring it within single digits here for Syracuse would be a huge answer to the transition offense that Buffalo has produced early on as Syracuse started this press, but now they seem to be hindering their offense here.
13:33 to go. Boeheim, pull up from the elbow. This one, count it, Buddy Boeheim. Back-to-back buckets from Buddy Bullseye and the Orange. 61-53. This game's within 8, 13:21 left to go, and you didn't think the Orange would go away that quickly, did you? Going the other way is Nickelberry for the Bulls. Now a pass to the inside. Mbala gets a shot up, and he's fouled. So Mbala will go to the charity stripe. The two-pointer's no good. And the good thing for Syracuse is Mbala's a lot like Guerrier, and maybe even a little bit more so, very inconsistent from the charity stripe.
Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to foul this big guy on the inside, because if you're not getting rough with him, he's going to get that ball up and in. I mean, he's very long. He's very athletic at his position. Like I said, only listed at 6'7", but very hard to believe that he's a big man at forward.
17 points tonight for Mbala, leading the way for the Bulls. First one is up and good, and I think we just jinxed the Orange a little bit there, Kyle. 62-53, 13-11 on the clock where it stands. Mbala, second free throw. Waiting it, up and money. So 2 for 2 goes Mbala. It's back to a 10-point contest inside the Dome. 13 minutes exactly left to play here in Syracuse, New York. Buddy Boeheim dribbling behind his back. He's the guy they got to look to for Syracuse. Lets a floater go from the ACC logo. No good. Rebound Dolezaj. Over to Guerrier. Guerrier gets the foul. Almost had the and one. Surely he wanted it, but he'll get 2 free throws from the charity stripe. The guilty party that time on the foul is Laquil Hardnett, the sophomore from Cincinnati. And with the 10-point game, Guerrier is going to have 2 from the charity stripe. But we talked about it, Kyle. He's inconsistent. You got to make these. Makes the first one.
Yeah, it's big there. And really, almost every free throw from here on out from Guerrier and other guys who draw fouls are going to be pivotal to the success of Syracuse further on.
Down the stretch, free throws are everything, and Guerrier goes 2 for 2. That's ice in the veins out of an inconsistent free throw shooter for Syracuse, but again, he leads the way, and he's been huge for the Orange this season. 63-55. Fast break points, trying to get there for Buffalo. A steal on the inside, a block by Kadary Richmond, the freshman with an electric play. He dribbles it out. Tried to get it to Guerrier, and it's kickball violation out of bounds off the foot of Mbala. And Kadary Richmond, the freshman, not going out without a fight. Syracuse within 8, and they have the ball here. And that's a great block there by Kadary Richmond, Kyle, on a very poised Laquil Hardnett trying to get a hard bucket to go.
Yeah, the full press utilized well there, setting up the trap in the paint this time. Not afraid to stretch the court defensively. And Kadary Richmond getting a little handsy on the inside. A great play right there.
Buddy Boeheim dribbling behind his back over to Guerrier, right wing three-pointer. That one too strong. Woody Newton tried to pull it down, but instead pulling it down are the Bulls, and it's David Nickelberry, the 6'7" guard / forward, plays both ways, a senior right now out of Orlando, Florida. 2 guys out of Orlando, Segu and David Nickelberry. And just like that, the Bulls turn it over again. Kadary Richmond wants to go quickly. It's a 9-2 run for Syracuse. Richmond gets to the tin. The 2's no good, but he's fouled this time by Graves, and it'll be 2 free throws at the charity stripe for the freshman.
Yeah, big play right there. Right off the inbound. He's just going to go straight in, Euro step, and tries to put it up. Still draws the foul. Nice play right there from Kadary Richmond.
Oh, absolutely. Made a fancy move at the top to get Nickelberry to miss. Makes the first free throw. This game's within 7, and Syracuse still keeping themselves within striking range.
Yeah, clawing away at this lead right now, and Buffalo really hindered by that full court press. A new look for Syracuse, but they've done it well thus far.
The defense has been strong, and the big thing has been closing out in the paint once they do get it down the court. Dolezaj has been good at that. Kadary Richmond got the block moments ago. Richmond misses the second. Rattled around. Richmond, 7 points today, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks. At the guard position, Kadary Richmond has 3 blocks. That shows off his length and his huge wingspan for a 6'5" guard. That's what Boeheim loves, the wingspan on this kid. Jonathan Williams kisses one off the glass. What a strong take. And now Buffalo takes a little bit of momentum out of the sails of the Orange. 65-56, 9-point lead for the Bulls. 11:51 to go. Plenty of basketball left. Boeheim turns it over. Graves the steal. Up the court pass. And a 2-pointer is up and good. Syracuse trying to go quickly, but what a bucket that time on the other end of the floor for the Bulls. Putting it in was Keyshawn Bruton, the senior out of Coastal Carolina. Kadary Richmond tried to get one to go. He's fouled, and he'll shoot 2. This game is moving quickly. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, it's going back and forth quickly, and Kadary Richmond trying to get a quick answer again there on the inside. So it's going to get a little handsy as we go down this 11-minute stretch to close out the game. Syracuse not giving up without a fight.
Absolutely not. TV timeout on the floor. Let the two teams take a breather. And I hate those timeouts because it takes the momentum out of the game a little bit. Syracuse had some momentum going. They're moving the ball well, playing great defense. Just everyone's flying up and down the court. And these guys, I'm sure, need a break. But, just for some advertisements, they cut play when it was getting exciting there. Both teams flying around. High momentum basketball. That's the stuff that wins games or brings a team back. Nonetheless, when we get back, it'll be Kadary Richmond shooting 2 inside the dome. Syracuse clawing their way back a little bit here against Buffalo, using that press. How has the press been to Syracuse's advantage in clawing their way back?
Yeah, well, once they utilized it correctly after a few possessions from Buffalo, making sure to not let them really just pass through that trap that they set at midcourt and set up men in the backcourt ready in the paint. They utilized it correctly, not afraid to get a little rough in the paint and, not trying to draw fouls, of course, as we see guys like Marek Dolezaj get in foul trouble often, but still hindering their offensive output from eliminating their 3-point shot this time, which is a smart play by Jim Boeheim. Of course, the 2-3 zone geared towards forcing them to shoot the 3-point shot. And when they have success there, they'll go to the inside, forcing them into the paint with that full court press. So a great decision there from Boeheim. You and I were kind of expecting it. And now it's a matter of continuing the offensive output. You see Buffalo stretching the court a little bit as well. So Syracuse answering back by going up court as quick as possible. Kadary Richmond kind of leading this offense right now as a newer face, taking Girard off the court and not afraid to, maybe utilize the screen a little bit and get into the paint and kick it out to the wing. We've been trying to shoot a little bit more from the 3-point line out at the wing. Of course, we're not as efficient as Buffalo at 3-point shooting, but still a lot of looks here for Syracuse to change it up offensively in order to continue their success and catch up to Buffalo.
Looking at some of the stats here during this timeout break on the ACC network, Syracuse leading the way. Quincy Guerrier, 19.7 rebounds, on his way to possibly another double-double if he can get 3 more boards. And that would be something, a 20-point double-double. That would be his second one of the season if he's able to do so. Dolezaj's got 9. Girard only with 2. Struggles continue for Joey G. 4 points for Alan Griffin. Struggles continue for him as well. Boeheim heating up a little bit in the later portion of that spurt that we saw there. 15 points so far tonight. Kadary Richmond with 7. Richmond 5 rebounds, an assist, and 3 blocks as well. And on the other side, Jonathan Williams, 16 points, and he's back, and he's played most of the second half. Actually, he has not come out in the second half. Graves has 14, and leading the way is Mbala with the same number as Quincy Guerrier, 19 points. It's a 67-56 lead for Buffalo. 11 minutes, 32 seconds left to play here. And it looks like Kadary Richmond will have 2 free throws from the charity stripe when we come back as they're taking the court right now. Kadary Richmond, though his stature on the stat card hasn't been phenomenal as far as the points go, he's doing the little things, the rebounds, the blocks, the steals. This kid's going to be special in his tenure at Syracuse.
Yeah, not major stats at the steal category, but he does lead the team, and he's a guy that'll continue to do so. It's a part of his playing style. He's really handsy on the inside on both ends of the court, so really fun to watch this young man play.
First free throw for Kadary Richmond is nothing but net. It's back within 10. It got out to an 11-point lead once again for Buffalo. 67-57, 11 and a half minutes to go. Plenty of time if you're Syracuse. Second one is too strong off the back rim and goes 1 for 1, or 1 for 2, I should say, rather. 1 and 1 at the free throw line, back-to-back attempts. So, I mean, it's a situation where if you do that twice, that's points lost. He does it twice. That's 2 points lost. That's a whole possession, right? And it adds up because Guerrier's done that how many times as well. Syracuse, if they lose tonight, a big problem of that is going to be how poorly they shot from the charity stripe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a matter of fact type of thing. I mean, Syracuse can produce offensively. They're one of the better teams at it, despite kind of playing off of their 2-3 zone as their pacemaker of the game and making them lower scoring than as compared to other ACC teams. And then, things can start rolling for them. And then it's the momentum killer, those free throws. Quincy Guerrier, kind of the leader of this offense and really just the leader of this Syracuse team. And even he struggles from the free throw line. Only Kadary Richmond and Joseph Girard are really our guys that we can really bank on hitting their foul shots. And Buddy Boeheim as well, another face that we can look at from the foul line. Joseph Girard, a guy that we'll talk about later with his lack of performance offensively, Gio.
Dolezaj, a slam on the inside. It's back to an 8-point contest in Central New York. A cutting Nickelberry, off the mark, no good. Berry the rebound, tries to put one up. That one's strong. Richmond reaches out for it. Syracuse in transition. Kadary Richmond able to pull it back away, and out of bounds it goes. Richmond, that's twice now. He's lost the handle a little bit, gets a little excited in transition and diving at that one to keep it in play. That time was Keyshawn Bruton, but he does have a foot out of bounds. How about Merrick Dolezaj taking it to the 10? The muscles flexing, and a big dunk for Merrick Dolezaj. Back with an 8 are the Orange. Dolezaj, a floater from the left side. Merrick Dolezaj, back-to-back buckets, and Syracuse has this thing within 6. 67-61 is your score. 10 and a half minutes to go. The Orange press has been effective. Berry cutting in on Dolezaj. Kick out left side. Thought about a 3. Now back to Jonathan on the inside. Berry, a 2-pointer, rattles around, and home it goes. Berry has been phenomenal tonight. He's that big presence inside for Buffalo. That's what Syracuse has struggled against all year. Back to an 8-point contest, 10-10 left to go.
Yeah, and Bali, good athleticism on the inside there.
Buddy Boeheim, a floater from the ACC logo. Count it. 69-63. Back now to a 6-point game, and Syracuse still chipping away at this lead. These last 10 minutes, they've just slowly chipped away, and they've grown closer. What was back-to-back, they would go down the court. Each one would miss. Each one would score. It was all the way up to 14 points as one time as Berry cuts to the inside, and that's a score for Buffalo. Back to an 8-point contest, 71-63, 9.5 minutes to go. Richmond running the point. Screen by Dolezaj. Richmond drives, but Berry sends it away. Oh, my goodness. How about that block on the interior, Marchak?
Yeah, what a big swat right there. Like I said, really long in his position. Mbala, certainly a threat defensively and offensively, a guy to look out for thus far. He's been on and off the court, but really ever since he made it in the second half, he stayed there, and he certainly solidified himself as a guy to feel defensively.
And the refs give Kadary Richmond a foul. The first free throw up and good. Berry, what looked clean to me was actually called a foul as he sent that thing all the way back to Buffalo, New York, out of the left end of the Carrier Dome. That was a big block, but it was called a foul. And Kadary Richmond goes 2 for 2 from the charity stripe. Again, we go to a 6-point game. 71-65 is your scored. Syracuse has allowed 42 points in the paint. That's the most this season, and Berry's been the biggest problem tonight, along with Jonathan Williams. Now the Bulls. Go ahead.
I apologize. Just when you think Buffalo's living and dying by the 3-point line, you see that they're putting up so much on the inside as well.
Berry, a foul called, and it's offensively against him on the interior. Dolezaj draws another offensive foul. How about Merrick Dolezaj getting those feet set? And yeah, for sure, his feet are simply planted, and Berry puts the shoulder into him. The refs giving Syracuse the benefit of the doubt, and the Orange get the ball back here to inbound. Now within 6, could cut this thing within 4, or possibly even take it to a 1-point or a one possession game with 3. 71-65 is your score. 9:09 left to go. Richmond cutting, kicks it out to Dolezaj, top of the key. Thought Dolezaj was going to think about a 3 there. Gives it back to Richmond, and Richmond's been explosive, but cutting out is Graves for a steal, and Graves a transition slam-a-jamma. No problem that time for Javon Graves. That was a big play, and that was a little bit of a momentum shifter for Buffalo. That was an easy 2.
Yeah, just when you think you have the momentum, Graves is going to say otherwise. A huge slam right there in transition.
A great steal that time for Graves and the Buffalo Bulls. Syracuse back to within 8. Buddy Boeheim puts up a 2. Alan Griffin came in for the putback slam. What an athletic play out of Alan Griffin, who struggled all day today. 73-67 is your score. Syracuse again back within 6. We'll keep saying it. 8:21 left to go. The Orange and the Bulls going back and forth. It's a great game here inside the Dome. 3-pointer, fake that time. Segu thought about it, gives it off to his teammate on the left side. 3-pointer, no good. Too strong. Dolezaj the rebound. 8 minutes to go, and the Orange within 6. Again, have an opportunity to make this a 2 or a 1 possession game. Richmond top of the key. Syracuse getting the play set up, being patient with it. Just under 8 minutes to go. Boeheim with it on the left elbow. Boeheim lets a 2-pointer go. That one's too strong, and Mberi pulls down the rebound. Mberi has to be in a little bit of foul trouble here, whether he's got 3 or 4. He's had a lot of offensive fouls on the interior, thanks to Marek Dolezaj. 7:40 to go. If you're Buffalo, they're slowing down this game a little bit. What does Syracuse got to do to keep their head in it?
Yeah, I mean, they have to use that press correctly. They seem to be letting them get deeper. And now that they're not setting up in the press, they're feeling more comfortable getting into the paint and making plays happen. So really, they have to be stronger in the paint defensively.
Javon Williams makes them pay for not doing so. An easy 2 using the Euro step, and the Orange might want to think about getting back into the press. That's when the interior defense was good. Mberi knocked it away out of the hands of Dolezaj. Dolezaj able to track it down, and now a 5-on-4 opportunity. Dolezaj, the senior, takes it to the tin. Syracuse back within 6. 7 minutes to go. 75-69 is your score inside the Dome. Segu running the point right now for Buffalo. Gives it off to Graves on the right wing. Segu. Now to the left side, Segu top of the key, thought about a 3-pointer. Jonathan Williams has it on the interior, nearly lost it, found Graves on the right wing. Graves now cutting to the hoop. Lets a floater fly. That one's no good. Too strong off the backboard. Rebound, Guerrier. Guerrier up to Alan Griffin. Now Buddy Boeheim, left wing, decides to slow things down a little bit. 6.5 minutes to go. 75-69 is your score. Alan Griffin, deep 3, left side, scores it! This is a 1-possession ball game inside the Dome. Griffin's been quiet all night. The Orange are within 3, 75-72, 6.5 to play. Buffalo calls timeout. Oh my goodness, Marchak, we got ourselves a game.
Yeah, Griffin back in the stat sheet. Oh my God, what a shot right there. Off the high screen, Buddy Boeheim thinking about a 3. And he said, you know what? I think my friend Griffin can take the shot from the elbow. That was a deep one at that. That's talking about 25 plus right there. Griffin finally getting his name noticed, and he's been balling out in this second half.
Talk about being confident in your abilities, right? You've struggled all night. You struggled last game. But when it's crunch time, you know that no matter what, you're a good basketball player and you know you're capable of making that shot. He struggled for all of last game and this entire game and still has the confidence to put up that shot and bury it. Absolutely sensational. Love what I'm seeing out of the Illinois transfer.
Yeah, and that's what I love about the depth of the Syracuse squad, something that Syracuse usually lacks, historically speaking, in recent history. They don't have a ton of people to go to. I can recall in a Michigan State NCAA game in the round of 16, they had to go to a walk-on in the final minutes, and they finally clawed away with the win, Syracuse. And here we see many faces to go to. Alan Griffin, a new face in the starting lineup, but of course we have Kadari Richmond, who's been playing some very important minutes here in replacement of Joe Girard, who's not having as much success today. Of course, you'd like to question where Joe Girard is. Obviously on the bench because of his lack of offensive and even defensive performance. He really isn't the type of guy that you would expect at the top of the 2-3 zone for Syracuse. You'd like longer guys up there. And Alan Griffin is one of those people that you could stick up there, although generally he is a forward. Like I said, a bunch of faces to look forward to scoring here for Syracuse. But Buffalo, of course, not going to go down without a fight.
Yeah, and you talked about length at the top of the zone. How about Kadari Richmond? I mean, he has been the spark for Syracuse down the stretch of this game. I'm sorry, I love Joe Girard coming into this season. I still love the guy, a New York native. He said, I'm coming home. I'm not going to play for Duke down in Durham. I'm not going to play for Notre Dame. I'm not going to play for any of these big schools. I'm coming to play at home in Syracuse. But how about Kadary Richmond at the top of this zone? That wingspan, are you kidding me? The blocks, leads the team in steals. This kid's sensational, and he can score.
Yeah, I mean, he has the size of a forward, the length of a center, and the athleticism of a guard. He's so fun to watch up top.
Yeah, I mean, Kadary Richmond has been the spark tonight, like I mentioned. He's also hitting his free throws down the stretch. Struggled a little bit with the charity stripe at the beginning. Now he's hitting the free throws. And I'm a little shocked, but Syracuse has this thing back to a 3-point game.
Yeah, I really wasn't expecting it because even when they first started that full court press, Buffalo answered back by simply passing it through the trap, up and over the trap, and answering on the inside, where they've seemed to have the better of it against Syracuse. Syracuse, a team not afraid to play strong offensively and defensively in the paint. Of course, they've kind of relied on it. So many points in the paint on both sides. Of course, Syracuse giving up the most points in the paint that they have had all season. And that's a really scary stat to think, because you would swear that Buffalo is living and dying by the 3-point shot right now, because they've had so much shot selection, really from the wing to the elbow. They've had so many opportunities, and all of a sudden Nathan Williams comes in and he'll take a lot of shots on the inside. He's such a good slasher and really a triple threat to look at too. But, he's coming on and off the court. So a lot of things to look at here as we see Mballa getting stretched out here before Buffalo answers back getting onto the court.
Absolutely. 6.5 to play. It's a 75-72 lead still for the Bulls. And Guerrier, 19 points, 8 rebounds, just 2 rebounds away from his 4th double-double of the season. That would lead him in the ACC, tied for first currently. Back to basketball we go. The largest lead for Buffalo was 16 points with 15:59 left in the second. Syracuse has it now within 3, and the press continued to prove to be costly for Buffalo and sensational for Syracuse. Drive to the inside, foul on the floor. That's costly for the Orange, and it goes against Buddy Boeheim. He knows he shouldn't have reached at that one, so the Bulls, not in the bonus just yet, but just a little bit closer. Boeheim knows that was costly.
Yeah, you see Syracuse get into foul trouble often, something you always have to worry about, especially at the center position. Marek Dolezaj, a guy who gets, fouls far too often. Of course, not a true center, but we need him in the inside.
Kick to the inside, now kick out to the right. Driving to the 10. Graves 3-pointer, that one off the mark, missed almost everything, looked ugly. Guerrier pulls down his 9th rebound, 1 rebound closer. The Orange have it, 3-point game. Kadary Richmond driving to the 10. Now over to Dolezaj on the left elbow. Alan Griffin cutting to the 10. Dolezaj elects not to pass to him, tightly guarded. Dolezaj still holding that ball, gets it poked free, and it's a steal going the other way. Dolezaj just held on to that thing a little bit too long, but they catch a major break because Brock Bertram dove at it, grabbed it, but what he did was grab it in the air, then fell on the ground with it. You can't do that. That is called a travel. Syracuse will actually get this ball back here, and there's a timeout on the floor.
Yeah, interesting rule right there, Gio. And that's something to point out for sure, because in transition, you're probably wondering why they're stopping it right there, because that's a huge opportunity for Buffalo. But nonetheless, Dolezaj catching a huge break right there.
Yeah, he just held on to it too long. I mean, kudos to Buffalo playing tight man-to-man defense. He had nowhere to go with it, but he's just holding on to it, got a little lackadaisical. And Mballa, a couple times tonight, has poked the ball free out of the grasp of Marek Dolezaj. But nonetheless, Doley's been sensational tonight for Syracuse. Just taking a look at the stat sheet for both of these squads here tonight. Marek Dolezaj having himself quite the game for Syracuse. 15 points, 4 assists, 8 rebounds, and 4 blocks. So Doley is on his way to a possible double-double as well.
Yeah, with 5.5 to go here, certainly going to be a close game. And Gio, I think this might be the best game we'll have yet, because, it's a non-conference game, but all of a sudden it means this much. Buffalo really trying to make a huge statement right here. 2 teams fighting for an NCAA tournament spot, or at least it certainly could turn out like that as the season winds down.
Yeah, Syracuse can't afford a loss tonight. I mean, you can't. And the ACC is weak. The Orange have an opportunity to make a difference, but a 3-pointer goes. Rumbling around the rim that time are the Buffalo Bulls, but it counts. And Segu puts up a 3-pointer, making this a 6-point game once again. That's a huge shot down the stretch of this game. Guerrier, top of the key, pump fakes, driving to the 10, gives it off to Dolezaj. Richmond now at the top, crossover, pull up from the elbow. Oh my! How about the freshman? Kadary Richmond, express yourself, young man. Back to a 4-point ball game. That was sweet.
Oh my God, look at the ball movement right there. What a play. Kicking in and out from the paint and then finding Kadary Richmond at the elbow. What a play right there.
The crossover was electric, and it's a 4-point game in the Dome under that brand new roof. 78-74, 4.5 to go. Syracuse, a tough 2. That one is no good. Trying to pull down the rebound are the Orange. Instead, it's Bertram. Kicked out to Syracuse. Top of the key, 3 counts, but Bertram with an interior foul, I believe, unless it goes against Dolezaj. Both teams look a little confused. I know a whistle was blown. That 3-pointer doesn't count.
Yeah, the ball bouncing around on the inside there, and Bertram getting a little shove too. So, it might have been off the ball. We're looking at some replays there. This is a really messy game now, as both these boys certainly want it.
And the scary part is Dolezaj, 4 fouls right now. The Orange in the double bonus, a foul on the floor off the ball. It goes against Buffalo. Alan Griffin's going to get 2 free throws here, and this could bring it to a 2-point game if the Illinois transfer can hit his free throws. Kyle, I'm on the edge of my seat. The cardiac cues in full effect tonight.
Yeah, full effect is really the best way to describe it. Cardiac cues, obviously a loving name that we give them, but as long as they continue to keep it close like this, I might actually have some serious heart problems. I mean, if we continue to do this all season, Gio, this is not going to turn out pretty for me.
78-75 is your score. Alan Griffin puts up a free throw, and it's good. So it's within 3. 4:16 to go. Griffin, second one is money. 2-point game inside the Dome. 4:16 left to play. Alan Griffin, 11 points and 6 rebounds. And we have ourselves a ball game in Central New York. Syracuse, top of the key. Graves driving. Kicks it to Jonathan Williams. This one's blocked away. Off Williams' hand, out of bounds. Tried to keep it in play. Not the case. Marek Dolezaj the inbound. The Orange have a chance to take the lead with a 3 and tie it with a 2.
Yeah, we said free throws are going to be important down the stretch, and Griffin with a huge statement right there. And then on the inside, the defense answering 2 for Syracuse. Huge play right there.
Dolezaj drive to the inside. Tough defense. Gets it to go. We got ourselves a tie game. We are tied inside Syracuse. 3:43 to go. 78 all. Marek Dolezaj the 2. Wow.
Yeah, 3.5 to go. Now would be a good time to take Dolezaj off the court, getting into foul trouble. But a lot of new looks we'll start to see here as it's crunch time now.
The Bulls moving the ball well with each other. Syracuse at the top, looking at a 3, elects to drive to the inside. Now kick to Bertram. This one's deflected away. Alan Griffin closes out for a steal. Syracuse in transition. Griffin at the top of the key. Slows things down. Pulls up. Deep 3. Rattled around. Nearly got it to go. Swirls around the rim. Still tied we are. Another opportunity for a steal. Look at Alan Griffin diving on the court. And an over and back call against Syracuse. This game is just absolutely incredible. Alan Griffin with the play. And Kyle, it's interesting to see Alan Griffin dive on the court like that, because I listened to all the post-game press conferences. Jim Boeheim said he was disappointed that Alan Griffin had so many opportunities in the last game to go ahead and go get rebounds and go and get loose balls, and he stood still. And he questioned his character as a college basketball player because though he was struggling, he seemed to sort of give up a little bit, right? Wasn't playing his hardest. Boeheim hates that more than anybody. To see him dive on the floor like that for a loose ball coming all the way across the court is proving something to his head coach.
Yeah, I don't care what sport you're playing. If you're willing to risk your body and put it on the line for the sake of your team, really, and your teammates and their success, that's the best type of teammate. I mean, if you look at all the best athletes in any sport, they're all willing to risk, and that's their playing styles, to hustle as hard as possible and do the small plays that matter. So a huge play right there for Alan Griffin, not even to get the ball, but really just to make a statement that he's here for the long haul. That's awesome right there from Alan Griffin.
A TV timeout here in Central New York, and Syracuse should have the ball when we come back unless something else changes with an offense or official review. And again, a timeout on the floor in Syracuse, New York, but we'll continue our coverage here tonight. This game, I mean, this is just cardiac cues to the fullest, Kyle.
Yeah, I might have seen the player who had the ball at the end there for Buffalo actually call timeout. So it might not have been the violation that you called it. It's not coming to my head, of course, as we speak. But
I saw the. Sorry to interrupt, but I did see the ref go like this, which is over and back, and the player kind of put his hands up. So I believe it should be Syracuse ball, but again, I could be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Like you said, I mean, we don't have the volume on for the TV here, the ACC network presenting this for us here. And so we are not getting the feed that these actual broadcasters are. Of course, just two kids with a dream here through Zoom, trying our best. And, it would really certainly be nice to have a statistician next to us dropping us the information. But instead, you and I trying our best here. So we'll see when we get back. It would be huge for Syracuse to start off with a possession here as they have the momentum in their favor. And they would like to answer back by taking the lead here, which would be really paramount to the success of this game in crunch time now, 3.5 minutes to go.
Well, with that being said, Kyle, I think this is the perfect opportunity to just thank everybody who's tuned in along the ride. I feel like we've developed in our time together, and it's just so much fun for us to get on here again. Just two kids with a dream, trying to go to college for this, trying to make a career out of it, and kind of spend our lives doing what we love. It never feels like work. It's just incredible to do, and it's incredible to be alongside you night in and night out, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for having me. Like I said, you have a great production going on here. And really, at the end of the day, it's tough to describe just how you feel when you sit in a booth and you really call a game and you kind of envelop yourself in the environment. But, at the end of the day, I know you and I were both raised by fathers who taught us morals of, well, really just our parents in general, who taught us morals of doing what you love. And that this is certainly it. I mean, you have to experiment throughout your young life, and both you and I are fortunate enough to find what we really want. So this has certainly been a lot of fun, and thank you for having me on.
Of course, man, you're the best, and I couldn't agree with everything you said more. So we're back to basketball, 2:51 left to go. We could go down that rabbit hole all night, but we're back to basketball inside the dome. Feed to the inside. Mbala, a tough two. Buffalo takes a 2-point lead, 80-78. 2.5 to play. Kadary Richmond running the point once again for Syracuse, and Gerard has not seen the court in a little bit here. Dolezaj at the top of the key, tightly guarded by Mbala. He plays some great scrappy defense. Dolezaj, a spin move, taking it to the 10, and a foul call. Doley will get a trip to the line, almost got it to go as well. Mbala shaking his head. Both Doley and Mbala in a little bit of foul trouble here.
Yeah, I mean, you look at centers, they usually, if they are handsy or athletic, they're going to try and, not draw fouls, but try and get in there a lot. And usually that's a result that you see often. Dolezaj, a guy that seems to get in foul trouble almost every game. I know he struggles to really defend at the center position, but you can't afford to see this, over and over again.
Makes the first one. That's his 18th point of the night. It's 80-79, 2.5 to play inside the dome. Guerrier leads the way for the Orange with 19. And now Dolezaj with 18. Call it 19. They're tied at 19, and we're tied inside the dome, 80-80, 2:25 left on the clock. Segu taking it up the court for Buffalo. We have ourselves a ball game. Segu top of the key. Syracuse back into that 2-3 zone like we mentioned. Graves on the left wing. Back to Segu top. Segu with the dribble move, thinking about a drive. Syracuse not letting it. Alan Griffin, tight defense, trap in the corner, able to get it away was Graves. Now a drive, and a bucket is up and good. That was a tough one. And what a play that time for the Buffalo Bulls out of Keyshawn Bruton, the senior from Coastal Carolina. That was the toughest bucket he's made tonight. And now Buffalo with a 2-point advantage, minute 46 to go.
Yeah, with 1.5 to go here, Syracuse has to answer. This is a huge bucket right here.
Alan Griffin responds. The two transfers going back and forth, up and down the court. Alan Griffin got a tough layup to fall. It's 82-all, 1:31 left to go. I feel like Dr. Seuss.
I mean, this is amazing basketball on both sides right here, back and forth.
Three-pointer is off the mark that time on the other end of the court for Buffalo. Keyshawn Bruton couldn't get it to go. Guerrier, a drive to the inside, a Euro step, the bucket, and the foul. Quincy Guerrier and the Orange have their first lead since 16:05 in the first half. An opportunity to go up by 3 for Syracuse off the back of the leading scorer, Quincy Guerrier. Oh, my goodness.
Guerrier up and in. What a play. He demands that and one right there. Going in, and the defense had nothing to do with it. Guerrier up and in. There's really not much more to say about it. That guy is super athletic and strong at his position, and he demanded that ball to get in there. Really forced it up.
He made the free throw as well. Sorry to interrupt there. 85-82 is your score, 1:10 to go, and a foul on the floor against Kadary Richmond. He fouled Segu. 1:10 left on the clock. Syracuse leads by 3. Buffalo now in the bonus, so Segu will get a 1-and-1 from the charity stripe. Actually, he won't. So they're in the bonus now. The next time there's a foul, that will be the case. It was an off-the-ball foul, I believe. Syracuse, a dish to the left side. Mbala on the interior gets the 2. That was a good shot over the head of Merrick Dolezaj. Mbala has that presence. We're inside a minute. Syracuse leading it by 1 over Buffalo, 85-84. 50 seconds on the clock, now under 50. Kadary Richmond running the point. Syracuse being patient with it. 15 seconds on the shot clock. Dolezaj trying to drive. Kicks it out. Kadary Richmond right side. Richmond on the right wing. Fancy dribbling here behind his back. Look at Kadary Richmond. Pulls up. ACC logo. Rattled around, but Alan Griffin tipped it in. 3-point lead for Syracuse. 87-84. 29 seconds on the game clock. Oh, wow.
Oh, this is back and forth right here, Gio. You have a heck of a job to call these last 20 seconds.
Deep 3. Here's Syracuse, and he hits. What a game inside the dome. Syracuse all the way from Rochester got that one to fall. Timeout call, Jim Boeheim. 13.4 on the clock. 87 all in the dome. Oh, my goodness, Marchak.
Back and forth. I mean, there's so many plays you don't expect. All sorts of guys showing up to make the offensive plays. And really, Boeheim has a heck of a job to draw up what he's going to do here. With 13 seconds to go, Gio, do you think they're going to try and force up a quick shot or draw it out and try and hit that final, slit in the throat?
Oh, 13 seconds left. I think you gotta hit that dagger. You gotta hold out for that buzzer beater. Now, Buffalo's going to try not to let them, right? They're going to stretch out. They're going to try and take that ball away. You have to take care of this ball. The last thing you could do is give up a turnover and allow a fast break score within 13 seconds for Buffalo. Syracuse, an opportunity to hit a buzzer beater to win it. Buffalo can't let it happen. Wow, we got ourselves a game. This is an in-state rivalry, and these two teams playing as of late have performed with some of the best basketball throughout the year for both teams.
Yeah, regardless of the result right here, even if we do go into overtime, this is one of the best games I've seen in a while. And I watch a lot of college basketball. It doesn't matter if it's smaller opponents or bigger opponents. These teams have really the outer edge. I mean, there's not much more to say about it. These teams are willing to risk their bodies on the line. We've seen Alan Griffin do it. We've seen Merrick Dolezaj, all these guys getting in front of people, drawing charges, the theatrics, everything that you need to see a good basketball game tonight, Gio. This has been a lot of fun calling it.
Oh, wow. This has been the most fun game we've called so far, and I just can't wait to get in person for these. Imagine being on the sideline here at the Dome, but nonetheless just calling it from home over Zoom. Absolutely incredible. We were over here going nuts. This is sensational. This is college basketball. 87 all, 13.4 left to go. The team's taking the court following the timeout. A big 3 from Syracuse to draw this thing tied. I mean, that was all the way from Rochester. Like I said, 13.4. Syracuse to inbound. Kadary Richmond, top of the key. Got to take care of the ball. 11 seconds to go. Dolezaj now on the left side. He tries to do a spin move. He loses the ball. Mbala takes it away. Transition opportunity, Graves. Graves swats off the backboard. Alan Griffin, 1 second left. Guerrier from half court. Banks it off. Almost fell. And overtime we will go. Oh, my goodness. Oh, wow.
And
what
Gary
a game.
Almost hitting the dagger from half court at the end there off the backboard. But what a swat in the inside. Oh, my goodness. Griffin saying otherwise. We could not turn the ball over there, and we certainly just gave the ball away. Dolezaj getting stripped on the inside, and on the other end of the court, Griffin really saving the game right there because, honestly, with 2 seconds left, there's no chance that Syracuse is going to inbound and respond to even a 2-point play. What an ending, and we're going into overtime. We have 5 more minutes to call here, Gio.
Bonus basketball on Orange Heat. You got to love it. But look at just looking at this. Alan Griffin saves the day, and he has showed up so big down the stretch of this basketball game after struggling. Guerrier almost hit the half-court shot. But again, going back, you got to give credit to Mbala and this Buffalo team because they've been so resilient so far, and Dolezaj has done that a handful of times tonight. Mbala poking it away from the senior. That's happened multiple times. It was almost costing Syracuse the game, but Alan Griffin said no. That was a LeBron James chase down.
I mean, there's really not much to say. They are resilient, and both teams are like that. They're both rough, resilient, and really, I mean, there's not much. It's just I'm really at a loss for words here, Gio. This game has been back and forth, tied at 87 with 5 minutes to go. Syracuse hopefully looking to slow down the game here. play it more to their favor. Of course, with a 2-3 zone, the pace of the games are usually slower, but, whatever Boeheim's gotten going right here in these young men, they clawed their way back and they found their way for an extra 5 minutes and an opportunity to run away with it here. You'd like to think that Buffalo will have the advantage going into this because throughout the stretch of this game, they've had the advantage, while the clock is ticking away. So, but Syracuse in crunch time is a different type of Syracuse. Cardiac Cuse is what we're looking at here, Gio. So, this next 5 minutes are going to be very important.
Cardiac Cuse in full effect. You hit the nail right on the head. Bonus basketball inside the dome and on Orange Heat. 5 minutes on the clock. 87 all inside the dome. And we talked about it. This is a low-scoring game. Yeah, these two teams definitely lit it up in the second half to prove us wrong. Syracuse came back from 16 down at one point in the second half with 15 minutes left to play in the game. Absolutely sensational. Would have finished regulation. The Orange win the tip right here. Kaderi Richmond starting with it at the top of the key. Syracuse, the lineup is Buddy Boeheim, Kaderi Richmond running the point, Alan Griffin, Guerrier, and Dolezaj. Griffin driving to the inside, pulls back, lets a two-pointer go, and it rattles around, kisses off the glass, and in. That's your home court advantage lucky run right there, kissing it off the window. That is your home court bounce, Kyle.
Yeah, Griffin feeling himself a little bit here in this OT. That's a good use of the pivot foot and a great shot right there.
Absolutely sensational. A block on the inside, but a foul called against Alan Griffin. He claps his hands. He doesn't like it. Boeheim saying, "Are you kidding me? That looked like a block." But instead, Umbala is going to get 2 from the charity stripe. Syracuse leads it by 2. 4:25 left to play in the game. Umbala at the line. Griffin was the one that saved the day at the end of regulation with 2 seconds.
Yeah, Griffin almost getting that swat right there. Unfortunately called a foul, and you usually see that in college basketball. Any type of contact is usually called a foul. Look at him from behind. Yeah, he caught the hand a little bit for sure, but he's very close to getting another swat or steal right there. Jonathan Williams at the line. Good to see him, of course, back in for Buffalo. Wondering how he'll be a threat tonight.
Yes, thank you for the correction. Jonathan Williams in at the free throw line. I thought it was Umbala. My mistake. Jonathan Williams goes 1 for 1, misses the second one. Syracuse now up 1, 4:18 to go. Alan Griffin with it at the top of the key. He's been hot in the down stretch of this half. Nearly taking it away, but instead a pass to the inside. Guerrier rocks the rim. Syracuse up 3, 91-88, 4:05 to go.
Steal and transition by Boeheim right there and right out to Guerrier, who was ready in the paint. What a sequence for Syracuse right there.
Now a shot off the mark. Jonathan Williams, offensive rebound, puts one up, no good, and it goes out of bounds off the hands of Umbala. Syracuse going to be able to get this possession back, leading by 3, and it's all Orange right now inside the dome. Look at this steal by Graves, and then closing out on it was Buddy Boeheim to take it right back. Wide open was Guerrier in the paint, and he rocks the rim, slamming it home.
Yeah, rocking the rim. Guerrier looking really strong on the inside, and he just happened to be at the right place at the right time. So good thing for Syracuse right there to keep that man on the inside in that transition right there.
Now a shot off the mark for Syracuse. Alan Griffin, offensive rebound, puts it in. The Orange up by 5, 93-88, 3:34 to go, and the Orange with their largest lead so far tonight, running away with it a little bit.
Yeah, they clawed their way back, and they're certainly continuing to do so here.
Umbala, the and one. You didn't think the Bulls were going to go away that early, did you? An and one on the inside. Foul on Dolezaj. Kyle, I believe that's Dolly's 5th foul so far tonight. That means Dolly has fouled out. Umbala has a chance to draw this within 2 at the charity stripe. And I believe, I was still watching the screen, I believe if it's called on Dolezaj instead of Guerrier, that would be his 5th.
Yeah, it looks like Dolezaj staying on the court, so that's very good. Guerrier, of course, also in foul trouble, but Dolezaj, a guy you have to worry about that a lot.
Umbala, too strong. Kaderi Richmond with a fierce rebound for the freshman. Top of the key. Richmond fancy dribbling. Gives it back to Boeheim. Boeheim now controlling it top of the key. 3:14 left to go. Syracuse leads it by 3, 93-90. Richmond on the right wing. Richmond driving to the 10. Kick out. Guerrier, left side. 3-pointer. Rattles home. 96-90, Quincy Guerrier, express yourself. He's been the best player on this Syracuse team this season, and he showed up big right there. 6-point advantage for the Orange.
Back and forth to the inside, kicks it out to the wing, and Guerrier answers. This man, not the greatest three-point shooter, but when he needs to, he certainly hits the shots, and Syracuse very happy to have that man on the court right now. He is really a jack of all trades.
2:54 left to go in this game. The Orange opening this thing up by 6. Syracuse thought about a 3. Now step back from the right side. Count it. Syracuse is so good for this Buffalo team. Right now, Ronaldo Syracuse, a junior, playing some of the best basketball he's played so far tonight. That step back was fancy. Richmond running the point for Syracuse. 96-92 is your score. In overtime, we have 2:26 to go. Richmond off to Boeheim, top of the key, who's going to do a spin and drive to the interior. Pulls up, two-pointer, nothing but net. Syracuse still opens this thing up. 6-point game once again. 2:16 to go. The Orange are hot and can't be stopped right now.
Yeah, next to UVA, this is the biggest comeback that I've seen in a while for Syracuse. If you recall the Virginia game in the NCAA tournament in 2016.
Nearly turning it over. The Bulls, Syracuse able to scoop it up and put up a 2, and instead he misses a rebound. Alan Griffin, foul, the Orange in the double bonus. Griffin's going to shoot 2 the other way.
So Syracuse really having the advantage now that they're running away with it a little bit, but you hate to jinx them because you always have to worry about Marek Dolzaj on the inside, almost getting in some foul trouble there. Certainly a play that he could have, getting a little handsy there. With Dolzaj fouling out, you'll have to throw in John Bolajak. Like we said, we have a lack of depth at the center position, but depth at the guard and forward position otherwise. So a lot of things to look at here for Boeheim down the stretches. Griffin hits his first free throw.
Griffin almost missed that one, hit just about every square inch of the hoop, and in it drops. Gets that shooter's roll, gets that home court bounce. 99-92. Second one does the exact same thing, but it hits bottom. 100 points for Syracuse for the second time this season. 100-92 is your score. 1 minute and 55 seconds left. Pass to the inside. Jonathan Williams missed a 2, trying to save it. Hits it off Alan Griffin. Griffin's able to corral it. Syracuse forces another turnover. A minute 43 to go. You don't want to jinx them, but it looks good. Up 8, Kyle.
Syracuse rolling right now. They've really felt the momentum, and Kadary Richmond going to slow things down right here, see if he can set up a play. If not, draw out the clock while trying to hit a big dagger right here.
12 seconds to go in the shot clock. Alan Griffin with it on the right side, tightly guarded, driving to the interior, and he's fouled on the floor. So Alan Griffin will shoot 2 from the charity stripe, a chance to put Syracuse up by 10 points in the overtime. What a series of events this game has produced tonight.
Yeah, certainly. And Griffin finishing with the layup right there, but it won't count. But nonetheless, this man feeling himself right here.
Griffin hits his first one, 101 points. They did it against Boston College. Griffin was the one to make it happen with that last shot, and a chance to now put it to 102 as he misses off the front rim. Syracuse up by 9, a minute and a half to go. Moving the ball is Buffalo, but a steal, Kadary Richmond. Richmond took it right away. Minute 16 left. It's all Syracuse, and a foul on the floor. Richmond's going to shoot 2.
Yeah, Buffalo trying to foul, obviously, here to get possession, to make plays happen. And it's good that the ball landed in the hands of Kadary Richmond, as some players getting tangled up right here.
Kyle, the cardiac cues in full effect tonight, but now they run away with it. And look at Jim Boeheim right now. He is infuriated with something as he's pulling Alan Griffin off the bench. Very frustrated with the Illinois transfer. Griffin looks like he's talking back to his coach. You never like to see that. I'm not sure what the vocal exchange was there. Boeheim was certainly infuriated, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, nonetheless, Griffin really feeling himself here. And in the heat of the moment, you're going to say a lot of maybe regrettable things when you feel like the top athlete on the court, and he certainly does right now.
Richmond goes 1 for 2 from the line. Syracuse up by 10, 102-92. A minute 8 left to go. Nice floater here from Graves, and Buffalo brings it back to within 8. That was a tough shot right there for Graves, the senior, and he hit it. 94-102, and it's a 1 minute on the clock situation for Buffalo down 8. What are you doing if you're the Bulls?
Yeah, I mean, this might be the longest 1 minute and 4 seconds here for the Buffalo Bulls, as they're obviously going to draw out this game by fouling, continuing to try and get possessions, but really just making sure that they full court press, and if they can get any steals or anything that falls in their advantage, whether it's fouls or steals, they need to capitalize on the possessions that they get. From here on out, this is going to be the longest 64 seconds that the Buffalo Bulls have played all season, really. Their 6th game of the season, and all of a sudden they're in the action, the heat of the action with one of the best teams in New York. So really the Bulls have kind of set it out in front of them. They need to foul, and they need to get possession. And like I said, I'll reiterate, capitalizing on possession is going to be the key here and out for Syracuse and Buffalo.
The nice thing if you're Syracuse, you're in the double bonus already. So no matter what, if there's a foul, which Buffalo's going to have to do to try and claw their way back, Syracuse gets 2 shots from the free throw line. I mean, if you can't do that, I mean, that's a struggle. Now, Syracuse has kind of been inconsistent from the charity stripe. There's been struggles that have been real from the free throw line for Syracuse, not only in this game, but throughout the season. But not trying to jinx it, but 1:04 left. The Orange have to feel good about themselves, up 8, have to continue to play hard, though, through the stretch. But what about this comeback for Syracuse? Like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah, not to jinx it. Hopefully they hold on, of course. Like I said, I mentioned UVA in the NCAA tournament. I think it was the Elite Eight in 2016. Tyler Lydon led that along with Malachi Richardson. Tyler Lydon, I can recall pulling up from almost half court with a huge dagger in the middle of their heat check, and Syracuse eventually won that game. One of the biggest comebacks I've ever seen. I believe that was also a 16-point comeback. And here we see Syracuse doing the same thing with a 16-point comeback at halftime. But how about Alan Griffin tonight with some putback slams, some big, huge elbow 3-point shots? He's been all over the court. Am I right, Gio?
Oh, Alan Griffin, with the struggles last game and the struggles throughout the first half in this game, to respond and show that resilience has been absolutely sensational. He is doing the best he can to fight with this Syracuse team. 22 points tonight, 9 rebounds, 3 assists. He's been phenomenal. Now, I'm a little worried about that, vocal altercation with Coach Boeheim. You want to be on the same page as your head coach. And I certainly, as a player, as you would, we'd never think to even talk back to our head coach. I'm not saying that's what happened, but it looked to be that way. Boeheim got very frustrated, was yelling, really in the face of Alan Griffin. Griffin, we don't know what happened, but it did look a little bit ugly there for a moment. Nonetheless, the Orange are up by 8:04 to go. Like you said, Kyle, this could be the longest 64 seconds of the Buffalo season as the Bulls try and claw this one back. Boeheim inbound, and he's going to be fouled immediately.
Yeah, a quick hack right there. Buffalo doing exactly what I expected, trying to get the fouls and get possession, only wasting 1 second there. So really, it's up to the inbounds of Syracuse. How much time can they draw out of the clock and still capitalize on their possessions? Because really, 1:03 is still plenty of time for Buffalo to claw their way back. If only a couple possessions fall in their favor, Syracuse is in a serious trap right here, especially with Dolezaj in foul trouble. If he goes out of the game, you're going to have to send John Bolajak back in there, and he's a lot easier of a guy to score on because he's not as quick or as explosive as Marek Dolezaj.
Boeheim hits 1 of 2. Once again, the inconsistencies for Syracuse, but it's 103-94 lead for the Orange. Inside a minute we go. Segu, a floater off the mark. Alan Griffin, the rebound, and they elect not to foul. So you have to think maybe they understand the situation. Alan Griffin with it at the top, 47 seconds left, drives to the inside, kicks it out. Boeheim lets a 3 fly, and he hits it. But I believe Alan Griffin was fouled on the interior prior to the pass, so he'll shoot 2. But we haven't seen Joe Girard III. And Joey G, they show him on the sideline. You have to feel for the guy. He looks not a little disappointed, to say the least, not really contributing to this comeback. Kadary Richmond running the point. Syracuse's fans have wanted to see it. What are your thoughts on that as Allen hits his first free throw?
Yeah, I mean, Joey G, not the most passionate guy, which is okay. That's a part of his personality, but it's certainly not a good look for him as, of course, cheering on his teammates during this comeback, but does not seem to be so happy for himself.
Right. 105-94. 3-pointer here off the mark. Trying to draw a foul was Jonathan Williams. Another putback's no good. Out of bounds it goes. Syracuse will get the ball. And up 11 with 34.5 seconds left. It looks good for Syracuse fans. This is the most points they've scored all season. And man, can this team score.
Yeah, I mean, they've been productive here in the second half and in overtime. They really did their job well. As you see Buffalo kind of leaning back, there still is a shot clock on, but there is 22 seconds to go. And Syracuse, what a performance to claw their way back. Certainly a time to pat themselves on the back. I mean, Boeheim's done a great job. He runs a super tight ship, as we've seen him throughout all night, yelling at his players whether or not they've done something good or bad. And Kadary Richmond's had a hell of a performance. So a lot of things to look at here after this game is the draw out the shot clock violation. And Boeheim certainly happy with his players here.
Absolutely. 4 seconds to go on the clock. The Orange up 11. What an explosion at the end of the second half, and then just took this game over in the overtime period. 105-94. The inbound with 4 seconds left for Buffalo. And Boeheim's all smiles right now on the sideline.
What a roller coaster this game has been. At first, it seemed like Guerrier was going to lead Syracuse back. Maybe it was Richmond. And then all of a sudden, Alan Griffin comes out here in OT. And if I recall the stat line going into the second half, it was 7 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. And now it's 22 points for Alan Griffin. So a heck of a performance to really recoup himself in the locker room. We never know really what they're saying, but Boeheim has done wonders for his players, not just in this game, but throughout the season thus far.
Absolutely. Boeheim still communicating with his squad as we still await this inbound, which will likely run out the rest of the clock. 4 seconds, 4.1 to be exact, 105-94. And it looks like there was a flagrant, Kyle. Must have been a technical foul as Buddy Boeheim shooting 2 free throws for free with nobody around him. Now he hits both of them. That's we don't have the mics, the heads, the actual on-court noise on. So we don't know what that was, but some kind of technical must have been against a coach or a player who was clearly infuriated. And Buddy Boeheim hits them both, makes them pay. 107-94 is your score, 4 seconds left, as Graves will just move in and dunks it home. That'll count. So 107-96 is the final score in overtime. Syracuse makes the comeback complete, taking down the Bulls in the overtime period. Kyle, what a phenomenal game it was here in the Dome tonight. Wow.
Not much to say about it. I mean, historically speaking, Syracuse, the biggest comeback I've seen in recent history was against UVA in the Elite Eight in the 2016 NCAA tournament. Tyler Lydon and Malachi Richardson leading them back. And now we see Syracuse repeating that same success against a smaller team. So, of course, you always have to fear all these big squads in and out of state.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at some of the stats right now, Kyle, and then we'll finish up with our last remarks on this game. So leading the way for Syracuse, Quincy Guerrier, 27 points, 11 rebounds. Wow. There's that double-double we were talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Guerrier, really the most well-rounded guy in the court. But how about Alan Griffin coming through in the clutch? Completely new look right there. Perhaps Griffin will continue to be a guy to go to in the late minutes. Certainly a surprise right there and a glad one at that. Boeheim runs a tight ship, so we'll see afterwards really what the altercation was, whether it was a technical on Griffin, early on, I believe, and then, of course, technicals maybe on the Buffalo side. Certainly a team that's not happy to give up that huge comeback, especially with talent like Jonathan Williams. But really, a game that we thought maybe Syracuse was supposed to have the advantage in. Nonetheless, they do come out with that 10.5-point favorite, even though they were down by 16 at half. So what a performance from both squads, really. The first half was Buffalo's and the second half was Syracuse's. And the second half is always the more important one in the game. So unfortunately, Buffalo gave up the more important half. So at the end of the day, a lot of well-rounded guys to look at, but Boeheim runs a tight ship, and he certainly did something in the locker room that works wonders on these players.
Absolutely. We'll finish up by looking at some of the stats. I said it. Guerrier, 27 points, 11 rebounds. Alan Griffin clocks in at second. You mentioned it, Kyle. 24 points, 10 rebounds. Give Alan Griffin the double-double, 3 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Absolutely sensational performance out of Alan Griffin. I think we got to give him our orange heat flame of the game.
Absolutely. I mean, he was clutch, as I said, and really in the most important minutes, he did what he had to do.
And then Buddy Boeheim clocks in at second, 22 points out of Buddy Boeheim. 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, and a great game out of Buddy B. And then Marek Dolezaj, 19 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 4 blocks, a great game out of Dolezaj. How about Richmond, the freshman, with 13 points and 8 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, 3 blocks. What a complete game out of the freshman.
Yeah, Kadarius Richmond, kind of a nice surprise as well, a freshman coming in, and of course replacing Joe Girard. So from here on out, Joe Girard will kind of be the concern of Boeheim and his Syracuse squad. A lot of things to look at with him. Obviously, his style of play doesn't fit the prototypical Syracuse Orangeman. So Boeheim has some decisions to make here on out, going into some more ACC games.
Kadarius Richmond certainly pushing his hand because he was the initial spark, and he led the point the entire comeback and the victory for Syracuse. Girard tonight, only 2 points. He turned the ball over no time. So no turnovers for Joe Girard, but only 2 points tonight, 1 rebound, 2 assists, and a steal for Joe Girard. I feel for the guy. I loved him coming in. I still love him. He's still orange. He still bleeds orange. but Kadary Richmond is really pushing his hand and trying to get that starting spot, and he's certainly making some noise and an argument for it. So to wrap things up, we'll just take a look at some of the stats on the other side because the Bulls played their hearts out. Hats off to them. 27 points for Mbala on the inside. He had a total of 7 rebounds, a steal, and a block. So Mbala played some phenomenal basketball with 27 for the Bulls as well. Graves goes 22 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. Phenomenal basketball out of him. And clocking in at third with 19 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal was Janethan Williams. So what a game out of the Buffaloes. What a game out of the Orange. But the Orange prevail. Kyle, your final remarks.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Girard's a concern. Like I said, from here on out, a lot of things to look at with him. We might see a new starting lineup coming into the ACC schedule again. So Syracuse, certainly a time to pat themselves on the back, but nonetheless, they shouldn't have made it that close. Buffalo, obviously a well-rounded and well-talented squad, but, not a team that you're supposed to really fall 16 down to at half. So you got to wonder what Boeheim said to his young athletes in the locker room. He always seems to make it happen. And Boeheim, one of the best coaches in college basketball history. So am I surprised? Certainly a little bit. But, when you remark that it is Jim Boeheim in there with his son as well, there's a lot of things working to kind of fix the chemistry of this squad as Kadary Richmond came out as a guard in the second half.
Absolutely. So that'll wrap things up here on Orange Heat. The next broadcast by us, stay tuned because we're thinking about doing one on Christmas with one of the NBA games. We're looking at some options, so stay tuned for that. But the next Syracuse basketball broadcast will be against Notre Dame on Tuesday, just a couple of days away at 7 p.m. Syracuse and Notre Dame face off. It's the second ACC matchup for Syracuse, and it's going to be inside the Dome, and it's also going to be right here on Orange Heat. So that's a big one against the Fighting Irish coming up. Syracuse prevails, coming back, a big-time victory over the in-state rival non-conference Buffalo Bulls. 107-96 is your final score. For Kyle Marchak, I'm Giovanni Heater. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you on Tuesday night. 107-96. The Orange take it in overtime.